All right, chat. Welcome to the Central Committee stream. 1 second. Let me turn on the light in here. All right. Welcome to the Central Committee stream. Okay, our sub count is wrong. Let me fix that real quick. How is everybody doing this beautiful morning of July 1st, 2025? We are halfway through the year. Holy moly. What a year it's been. What a year it has been. 5 months into the second Trump term. How are you feeling, chat? How are you feeling? I don't know about you. I'm not feeling great. Except, and this is the crazy part, Zohran's ranked choice vote comes out noon Eastern. So in an hour and a half, we're supposed to be getting the final ranked choice vote for the mayoral election. Oh, fuck. All right, well, caffeine. Got the caffeine. Ding. All right, beautiful. So what is everybody trying to bank ranked choice voting because of Zohran? Yeah, as you're going to see, Democrats are going to try to do everything to undermine what got Zohran. So if city matching funds, no, they want to go back to the big donors. Ranked choice voting, no, they want to be able to use spoilers. They don't like how the left unified. They don't like how there were so many candidates who were not beholden to big party donors. They're going to do everything they can to sabotage. Too much democracy. That's what the Democratic Party hates. I think the one thing that I need to start explaining is that the Democratic Party is not a real political party. All right. In most other countries, when you have a political party, the political party has members, and the members decide what the ideology of the party is. Okay, it is not like just, oh, I randomly put Democrat on my name and then people kind of just generally trust that'll be good and they have a kind of sense of that what I'm voting for. No, you are a Democrat based on what the members say, and the members choose your platform and they choose what you believe in. That's not what we have with the Democrats. The Democrats really are a meaningless label. It means absolutely nothing. There's not one position that you could look at and say, a Democrat definitely supports X. There's not one position. And I think a lot of people read political science literature or they read theory and they're like, oh, the Democratic Party is a bourgeois party. And it's like, it's not even a bourgeois party. It's not even a party. It is just a artifact of the American political system. It's a line on the ballot. You're not even running for anything, really. It's all vibes. And to be a Democrat, you don't have to pay any money. You don't have to say you believe in X, Y, and Z thing. It's just, you know, self-declared Democrat. It doesn't even mean anything. And I think that trips up a lot of people. Like, for example, with Zohran. Zohran is not a quote, typical Democrat. He just used the Democratic Party's place on the ballot to win him a bunch of extra votes in November. That's it. He didn't have to adopt any positions. He didn't have to change anything about himself. He stole the party spot. That's it. So if you're like, oh, he's a Democrat, therefore X, Y, and Z, that doesn't mean shit. He actually used their tools against them. That's why they're so pissed. Have the Dems had a written platform recently? They did in 2020. I don't remember if they had a platform in 2024. I don't remember if they did because of the whole candidate switch. I'd have to go and look. I don't recall, because it wasn't a typical year where there was like a primary and different factions of the party and they were jockeying for power. It was just like, oh, Joe Biden, yeah, he's totally mentally deficient. It has to be Kamala Harris or you're a racist sexist. And it's like, progressive, she hates all those views. She was faking it. Anyway, you can trust her to vote. It's almost the flip side of Trump taking over the Republican. Exactly. That's exactly right. The parties in America don't mean anything. They literally mean fucking nothing other than the vibes that certain people give them. I remember when I was a pod save listener, they constantly talked about having the biggest head possible, which meant no rigid ideology. That's actually just that is an ideology. That's the ideology of the status quo. That's an ideology of no change. Because if you want to create a very big tent, then when you actually win, you won't be able to accomplish anything because the tent is not going to agree on anything. And when voters look at you, they're going to realize they're not voting for anything. And chat, by the way, since I've posted 8 TikToks. I've posted 8 TikToks since I actually started posting on TikTok. I have more than doubled my followers. I've got 2 of the tickety talks that are over 50k views. The only one that I fumbled was a stream highlight, but I didn't use the caption system, so I feel like it broke. It broke the algorithm.
Mike
like
from
it has 179 likes, but only 800 views. I think it's because the caption system, like it was input with captions already inside, and I think it breaks TikTok if you don't use the in-app captioning system. And my first 3 posts were really bad. They were really bad. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be focusing on TikToks. I'm going to try to put out 1 every day, which means I'll probably put out like 4 or 5 a week. And they're going to be native content. I'm going to be making TikTok content. It's not just going to be stream highlights. So if you watch the stream every day, make sure you also are watching the TikTok, because I just realized something about, like, I'm obviously one of the biggest Twitch streamers, especially in politics. And I realized that whether I like it or not, unless you're Hassan, people don't really understand or give a shit about Twitch, which fair. But if I start getting, if I get myself 100,000 followers on TikTok, now for some reason, people take that seriously. And TikTok is very easy. So there's no reason I don't do it. There's no reason for me not to do it. So we're going to be doing that. And because Hassan doesn't do it for some reason, the field is wide open for like a sane leftist. I've seen a lot of people. Okay, here's the thing. There's a lot of people I like on TikTok who are also either extremely young or I don't know. They've entered this very weird mind place on TikTok. It's very fascinating. It's like I've tried to take stock of it before I hit anybody too hard. But Harry Sisson and Olivia Juliana are some of the worst posters I've ever seen, and they have huge followings. So there's no doubt in my mind that we're gonna be able to grow quite quickly. Hassan is stuck on Insta. He's such a fucking millennial, dude. That is so millennial coded. TikTok is great because I find a leftist I like that I search their profile with Kamala and see if they were pushing her, and if they were, I block them. Here's my general feeling about Kamala. Here's my general feeling about Kamala Harris. We did it. But it's like the same way I feel about Obama. It's like if I go out there and I just try to smash Kamala, then a bunch of people are going to get up in their feels, and then they're going to start going, "You caused Trump to be able to cut Medicaid," or whatever the fuck. And it's really pointless. My goal was to defeat Kamala Harris so that the 2028 primary was open to an actual progressive and to create an anti-Trump backlash. It was accelerationist. I'm sorry I did it. I'm sorry I was an accelerationist in 2028 or 2024 because I realized that if Kamala Harris won, the Democratic Party was going to fucking collapse. I did it. I'm sorry, chat. I was against her. Now, I didn't want Trump to win. I wanted Kamala Harris not to support the genocide. And when she refused to not support the genocide, well, then it is what it is. But I take credit. I tried to warn her. I tried to tell her she wasn't going to get our votes if she didn't vote against, say something against the genocide. She didn't. It isn't. It is what it is. I did it. It's my fault. Did you see this, Olivia Lore? Juliana began posting political content during the 2020 presidential election. She gained widespread attention when she encouraged people to submit false reports to a Texas Right to Life whistleblower site that enabled anonymous reporting of abortions under the Texas Heartbeat Act. The site was overwhelmed and eventually taken down. Let me just say this. That's not why she got famous. She got famous because she was called a fat slob by Matt Gaetz. She got famous because she was bullied by Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz was like, "Wow, you are ugly and fat." And a bunch of people felt bad for her. And so they kind of, rushed to her defense. That's why she got famous. She didn't get famous because she did some sort of really cool political action. It was fucking Shonda Black. Your TikTok is irrelevant now. It wasn't Gen Z. It was for millennials. Oh, no. By the way, I'm going to make a correction. By the way, this is still the same. By the way, my analysis is still the same. If you compare the two, Now, instead of 18 to 24-year-olds, it was 25 to 29-year-olds and 30 to 34-year-olds. And, by the way, 18 to 24-year-olds doubled their turnout anyway. So that is still, my analysis is the same. The specific contours are a little bit different because of the error. They misappropriated some people as 18 to 24 who were actually older, a little bit older. That doesn't matter. This was a youth turnout wave. It was older Gen Z and younger millennials. Okay? So this was more of a Zillennial wave than it was a pure Gen Z wave, which was my point anyway. My point was that it was the backs of Gen Z and millennials, which is exactly what happened. So the specific contours have changed of the data, but my analysis is still identical. By the way, I'm going to make a new video on this when we finally get the Zohran ranked choice voting. When we get a sense of just how big the landslide was. So once we actually have the ranked choice voting and the head-to-head, because ultimately the head-to-head is going to show just how much of a crushing it was. Centrists are turning on Torres, LOL. Richie Torres is over. He was promising once, but it's clear that he's a wilting lily who will roll over for Islamists in the hard left. I think that makes Fetterman the last respectable Democrat in office for Jews, centrists, normal people, non-anti-Semites, and non-socialists. It's so funny when people are fucking complete sellouts. At what point do you have to look inwards when it comes to your ideology? Figure Richie Torres' compromise would be a good place to start. No, I mean, Richie Torres is compromised. He's just an Israeli spy. He recognizes that he's going to get primaried. If he tries to be too anti-Zohran, Zohran's going to win. I want you guys to understand this. Zohran is going to win. And when he wins, he's going to be the mayor of New York City. And the left are going to fucking coalesce. And by the way, you're about to see every single dirty trick they can do. They're going to smear him as an anti-Semite. They're going to threaten blue flu. They're going to threaten a cop exodus. They're going to say the streets are unsafe. If he wins, the cops may well do a work slowdown. The cops may actually start committing crimes themselves. There's going to be a mutiny. And God knows what else they're going to try to pull. I hope you're ready for it. This is the thing about being a left-winger in America, is in order for our shit to win, we're going to have to be ready to fight and not just go, oh, everything didn't instantly happen. It's too hard.
Zohran Mamdani's expected.
All right. So somebody said there was a Zohran post about the final vote. Hold on. Yeah. I might have to. I might need to get myself a audio expert. There it is.
1 week ago, we shocked the establishment and redrew the political map with a campaign relentlessly focused on the needs of working people. Since then, a lot of people have asked me if I was surprised by the results. In some ways, I was. We always thought our victory would come after multiple rounds of ranked choice voting. So when we got more first-round votes than Eric Adams got in 7 rounds in the last election, it was astonishing. But in other ways, this was always the plan. We wanted to rebuild a coalition that had frayed over years of disappointment and neglect, to win people back to a Democratic Party that puts working people first. So let's break it down. Last November, New York City saw some of the biggest shifts towards Donald Trump of anywhere in the country. Much of it took place in working class and immigrant neighborhoods. A few days after the election, we went to Hillside Avenue in Queens and Fordham Road in the Bronx, not to lecture, but to listen. And what we heard was a desire to bring down the cost of living. That was our focus, and many of those voters came back. Brighton Beach went for Trump.
Look at the Casio, chat. Look at the Casio. My king is balling out with the Casio. Motherfucker, that watch is probably older than you. Don't even start with me right now. Don't even start with me. And he's got a pinky ring? Like, come on. Come on.
Brighton Beach went for Trump by 44 points. Last week, we won it by 16. College Point was a +11 Trump neighborhood. We took it by 8 points. We saw similar or even bigger swings in Bath Beach, Astoria Heights, and the North Shore of Staten Island. The headline is clear. We can win back voters many have written off if we give them something to vote for, not just tell them what to be against. When Eric Adams eked out a win by 7,000 votes 4 years ago, he called it a mandate and pronounced himself the new face of the Democratic Party.
Not only that, centrists everywhere was like, Eric Adams defeated the left. Eric Adams is the future. Eric Adams for president. There was a literal... Does anyone have this? Oh my God, I need to show you this. You're not going to believe this shit. It's probably foolish to think a New York City mayor will successfully translate into being a national political figure, but I still think Eric Adams would be in my top 5 for who will be the next Democratic presidential nominee after Joe Biden. He's going to be good at getting media attention, and he has a chance of carving out a niche that's different from what other Democrats are offering. That's a potentially powerful combination given how primaries are conducted nowadays. Also, the competition isn't great. Like, this is how these fuckers actually, like, this is Nate Bronze. Holy shit. Crazy.
Even then, it was a little ridiculous. But in some neighborhoods, he did put up impressive margins. Take Flatbush, for example. Eric Adams dominated there, double digits ahead of his next rival. On Tuesday, there was also a double-digit victory, except it was for us, over Andrew Cuomo. We flipped Crown Heights by 45 points, North Corona by 33, and Jamaica by a staggering 57 points.
57!
These are the outer borough voters that Eric Adams said he'd bring with him to City Hall. He served as donors instead. Whether we're talking about young voters, older voters, or just plain disaffected New Yorkers, no campaign in recent history has been as successful at driving new voter registrations, especially in the 100 days before the election.
Can I say something about the way people are analyzing this election in a way that tells me that you should be more optimistic about American politics than you are? You're probably not used to me being optimism Mike, but I'm going to tell you in my analysis. Personally, the fact that Zohran is doing so well with young people and highly educated people already, those are usually the people that are hard to win over. The working class people not being with him yet at the same levels as we probably would expect based on his class-based politics is actually a sign that his ceiling is much higher, and the ceiling for left-wing politics is much higher. The thing about working class voters is they don't like a bullshitter. All right. So whereas college educated people are more willing to listen to bullshit. This is just facts. Okay. Working class people want to see you perform. And the thing is, if you actually deliver, if you actually perform, the ceiling for working class people is going to be significantly higher. So this is the thing that I think people are not understanding. It's not that, oh, he's struggling with working class people. He's actually not. He did very well with working class people. He just did fucking Saddam Hussein level numbers with like Brooklyn. Okay. He had precincts at 90-some%. Okay. For like lefties, he's like Saddam Hussein level numbers. All right. For young people, he was doing crazy numbers. But working class people, he actually made quite a inroads with it. And if he could actually deliver on some of this shit, and he could communicate that he is delivering it, that's the other element that I think people don't understand. You have to deliver shit, but you actually have to connect doing stuff with it being your responsibility. All right. You have to do stuff, but you also have to tell people you've done it. All right. Because people will attribute it to gremlins or the fucking underpants gnomes. Right. If things start getting better, they'll start attributing it to stuff they're doing. Unless they know the connection between you doing it and it happening, you have to do it and you have to loudly take credit for it. This is why I'm a good political streamer, because when I do something, I loudly take credit for it. Because of course you should. You did the thing. And people are not gonna, they're tied up in their own shit. Everybody's, in their own world. So if you want people to say, oh, you did that, you have to take credit for it. And so I think Zohran is really good at communicating, and I think he understands this. And the next time I talk to a Zohran person, I just messaged one of his comms people to grab dinner with, hopefully this week. It's very important that you also take credit. And the fact that he's doing this post is exactly what I'm talking about. He is fighting against the idea that, oh no, he's just got the rich whites on his side, the out of touch champagne socialists. It is true that he got those people. He got Saddam Hussein numbers with the champagne socialists. Okay, that is true. But he's also making tremendous inroads with people of color, immigrants, and working class people all throughout the city. And we're going to see, I can't wait to see exactly how the ranked choice voting shakes out. I have a feeling he won working class voters.
Just take a look at this graph. According to the Times, in the 14 days before the registration deadline, about 37,000 people registered to vote. That's over 10 times the number of new registrations over the same period of time in the 2021 mayoral primary. As a result, we won big.
That is amazing. He actually pulled off the Bernie Sanders. This is something that this is something that never happened. I actually believe that Zohran's success proves that Bernie Sanders would have won. I think he would have won big. And the reason why I say that is Bernie never really got the chance to have a head-to-head like this in more progressive, or what I should say, representative areas. Bernie Sanders really got fucked over against Hillary because she had a big advantage in the South and from the superdelegates, which allowed the media to basically say the race was over because they were giving her the superdelegates well before the convention. So she was like, I'm going to win because she had this massive superdelegate lead that was like impenetrable. And so it gave people the opportunity to lie and say she was the presumptive nominee when she wasn't. All right. The second thing is young people are actually turning out. Young people are actually turning out. So like, look at this. Like, this is fucking crazy. He went exponential.
That's over 10 times the number of new registrations over the same period of time in the 2021 mayoral primary. As a result, we won big with zero prime voters, New Yorkers who had not voted in any recent mayoral primary. For instance, in Gravesend, at least 32% of all voters were first-time primary voters. Most campaigns focus on triple primes, New Yorkers who voted in the last 3 primaries. But this strategy ignores most of our city. Yet we knew that we could turn them out if they saw themselves.
Yeah, that's machine politics. That's machine politics. Like what Zohran is talking about here is machine politics. He's talking exactly about the fact that the way the Democrats work is they want you to be apathetic because we actually can take over the party.
In our policies. We ran a campaign that tried to talk to every New Yorker. Whether I could speak their language, आपकी वजह से हमने $8 million raise किया है, 6 लाख से ज़्यादा दरवाजे खटखटाए हैं, or just tried. Que se comprometa al bienestar. All the words are new. And the coalition that came out on Tuesday reflected the mosaic of these 5 boroughs. We won South Asian neighborhoods by huge margins in places like City Line, Ozone Park, Jamaica Hills. We won Latino neighborhoods like Corona, Washington Heights, Pelham Bay, and Woodhaven. We won many of the same Chinese voters that turned out for Trump in Flushing, Chinatown, and Bensonhurst. And in the final months of the campaign, we narrowed Andrew Cuomo's once sizable lead with black voters, outright winning young black New Yorkers in neighborhoods like Harlem and Flatbush. Andrew Cuomo and his super PAC spent more than $31 million. That's about $87 per vote. We were focused on affordability, and it cost us only $19 per vote. But
by the way, the argument about like the racialized shit is not really an argument to black people. By the way, when somebody talks about how progressives don't win black people, that's not an argument to black people. Because black people want to hear you talking about their issues that they care about as an individual. It is an argument to white voters. A lot of liberal whites look at, you know, they are, quite frankly, virtue signalers. And I'm not saying it's wrong to signal virtue. We should all want to be good people. But when you're making those arguments of like, oh, when you see a white person going, I don't know, the progressives aren't doing very well with black people. That's an argument to white people. That's an argument to white liberals. It's not an argument to black people. Black people want to hear what you're going to do to, you know, take care of their neighborhood and build up their schools and take care of public safety. They're like every other voter. They're human beings. They want to hear how you're going to help them and improve their lives. That's very fucking normal. So whenever you hear that shit, no, it's an argument to be being made to white people, not black people.
What you did for us was worth so much more than what money could buy. The result? We shattered everyone's expectations, including our own. A Cuomo spokesperson put it best, saying they had not foreseen our ability to, quote, expand the electorate in such a way that no turnout model or poll was able to capture.
By the way, I predicted that! I predicted that he would do that! Oh my God. Ah! I read it to filth. I read it to filth.
Conventional wisdom.
Ahmed, I hope you were joking, but you should be careful, dude. You should be careful. This is how you're going to get yourself permit off Twitch. Everyone, whenever somebody sees the chat, they assume you are a 35-year-old white man. Okay? Remember that.
Says the left can only win low turnout elections. We rewrote the rule book by, get this, talking to New Yorkers. Politics in this city won't ever be the same, and it's all thanks to you. The next chapter begins today, New York.
Like you're like some Greek tragedy, cursed with always being right but never being right. I mean, I'm recognized. I'm recognized. You didn't predict it on TikTok, so it doesn't count?
We are in the midst of another.
Zohran is going to win, and he's going to win on the backs of Gen Z and millennials. Early voting has included in New York City, and we see a clear pattern. If you look at the data that's actually coming out of New York from the early vote, the under 45-year-old vote share is 46.5% of the total early votes. And much of the polling that has predicted a neck-and-neck race, a 50-50 race between Cuomo and Zohran, they have projected a 30% under 45 final poll. That shows you that right now, because Gen Z and millennials are coming into their own politically and finally seizing their power, we have a real chance to change politics in this country and in the Democratic Party, where we won't have to be doing lesser of two evils, but rather candidates who support the causes that we believe in and we actually believe want to achieve change.
Zohran, I literally predicted it and analyzed it before it was like, I mean, show me somebody else who was this correct. Like, show me anyone else who was this dead on accurate. My mom is right all the time. Oh, I bet. The only people who came close had him winning by 1%. I said he was good. I didn't say, I said he's going to win. Like, I point blank said he's going to win because of Gen Z and millennials. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it's fucking so annoying because, like, do you understand how, like, nobody else does this? All right, we got a Zohran interview, chat. We're on Zohran glaze session, okay? I hope you don't mind. We're going to be glazing Zohran for the time being.
Victory in New York City's mayoral primary has made the 33-year-old an instant star in Democratic politics. Here he is on the cover of New York Magazine, which says his historic primary upset has the city swooning, spinning, and reeling. And despite the excitement, though, some top Democrats are stopping short of endorsing him outright.
I think I said it would be 56% Zohran, 44% Cuomo. I think that was my final ranked choice prediction. So we'll see what it looks like. I think I said 56-44. So a 12-point victory. But anything between 12 and 14 points would be my range. That's what I think he's going to win by. 12 to 14.
Including the top Democrats in the House and Senate, who also
if it's more than 14, that's even more insane than what I thought. Did you see the turnout data? I already talked about it.
To be fellow New Yorkers. Zohran Mamdani is back with us. It's great to have you back on the show. We had you on 2 weeks after you announced your run. I would say back then, not a household name. Safe to say now, you're a national figure. So we greatly appreciate.
Are you giving yourself some credit there?
No, I'm saying we greatly appreciate you making time for us now that you've hit the big leagues.
No.
Let's talk about this kind of divide within the Democratic Party, right? And the slow endorsement. You've certainly been endorsed by AOC, Bernie Sanders. You've been welcomed by them. They're celebrating your victory. But the party leadership has not yet coalesced around you, if you will. I'm wondering how you plan on tackling that, just from a political standpoint, because at the end of the day, some will say you need the party. Certainly the party has to get behind you because you are now potentially the mayor of the biggest city, probably the most important city in America. And so they're going to have to, they can't ignore you, and they're going to have to find a way to work with you. So what's your strategy for closing that divide?
You know, I've been honored in the days since the primary to receive the endorsements of Congressman Nadler, of Senator Warren, of 32BJ SEIU, the Hotel Trades and Gaming Council, as well as NYSNA, the nurses union, and ultimately showing that this coalition continues to build each and every day. And the way that we move forward is the way that we got here. We earn every single endorsement. And I've appreciated the phone calls that I've had with Senator Schumer and Congressman Jeffries, articulating both the focus of our campaign on affordability and the necessity of that to be a central message in our party. And I'm excited to keep growing this coalition.
So you mentioned that the unions have come behind you. They had previously endorsed one of your opponents, Cuomo. And if you look at the results of the primary, you did very well with higher income voters and less well with the working class, with lower income voters, which doesn't sound like it should jibe with your agenda or your message in any event. To what do you attribute that to, that it has taken a while for the unions to come on board? And I guess I don't know what the latest polling is on lower income voters, but at least we know what the results were in the primary.
We don't know the results in the primary. And by the way, when Zohran wins the fucking under 50K supporters, I can't fucking wait. I can't fucking wait, chat. We've got 1 hour before the ranked choice vote. Does anybody have the link to where that's coming out? People that want to pester me nonstop with your political ideas, could you actually do something useful for me for a change and link me the fucking ranked choice voting sorting website? Mike, there are a lot of debate as to whether Zohran should try to split with the Democrats now. Why the fuck would he split with the thing that he controls? What the fuck? The whole reason, okay, I want to explain you my take on dirty break versus clean break. If we win, we control it. If we control it, then we fucking control it and we make it into the image we want. If we can't take it over because they're making it impossible by rigging it, then we dirty break. But if you win, then you fucking win. You understand that if you have the Democratic nomination, it will automatically bring you votes. Some people just go in and vote for every Democrat, and they've done that for decades because they hate Republicans and that's it. And they just go in, they vote for every Democrat and they leave. That is a bunch of free votes that you get. That's why people run in the Democratic primary, okay? You get like 10 to 50% of the electorate just votes for you because you're a Democrat without any other thought. So that's why people want that. So you're getting the bot vote, basically. We would run now if, you know, they're sabotaging us and they're making it impossible to take it over. Well, then you dirty break in a way as painful as possible. And by the way, Zohran winning as mayor of New York City, if it turns out that we need to dirty break, he'll be a great face for the new party, right? He's an elected official of America's largest city. If he's part of the dirty break, it'll be way more likely to be successful as opposed to, you know, just trying to do it before you have power. This is what you're not understanding. I want the dirty break to actually work. I don't want the 8th minuscule third party that has no fucking support. I don't need another Green Party. I don't need another PSL. I don't need another Constitution Party. I don't need another fucking meaningless third party that's full of losers. We want a third party that can actually represent an existential threat to the Democrats. If we don't have that, I'm not interested in it. That's always been my argument. Link to the vote drops at 50 minutes. This is not it. Could someone check Fran Cam's link and ban him if it's not exactly what he says it is? Thank you. I can't click on tiny URLs ever, so I'm gonna go ahead and just time you out, man. Just don't link tiny URLs ever. It's a Rickroll, so you're only getting 10 minutes. You're lucky. All right. This is just an explainer of ranked choice voting. Okay. Philly Municipal Workers District Council 33 is on strike today, and that includes police dispatchers. I have friends that work in a medical dispatching place, and he said there's people that have no idea what they're doing when they get emergency calls in. People will die because of Mayor Parker. Yeah, Mayor Parker is a right-wing machine Democrat. That's what happens when they win. Ranked choice voting tabulation. All right. Okay. Thank you, chatters. Thank you, chatters. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's keep watching Zohran, and then we're gonna watch him on PBS. But I want to show you how hot, man. Suddenly, MSNBC anchors they found their balls all of a sudden.
We actually saw that we won the votes of voters who made $65,000 and above. And I would say that in New York City, that is very much a working class person's salary. And we have many more New Yorkers to win. And ultimately, we began this race, as you were saying in the beginning, at about 1% name recognition. And that's being charitable to myself. And we began it with a real uphill battle in introducing ourselves and our vision, and ultimately we won the primary. And yet I know that there's still so much more work to be done, especially when I was running against a former governor who was the son of a former governor, and whose name in many ways was synonymous with politics. And yet what we show is that it's possible to move beyond just a politics of the past and the present. We can have a politics of the future. And I've been excited by the fact that on Tuesday night, we didn't just see an incredible increase in Asian turnout across New York City. We didn't just see the more than doubling of turnout amongst 18 to 24-year-olds and increases for 25 to 29 and 30 to 34. We also saw the fact that we won Latino voters across New York City. And we closed a gap with black voters that at one point had been more than 50 points to now less than 20 points. And so much of the work of going through the general election is to continue doing that work of introduction and earning the support of New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs.
I have to ask you, too, about what it's been like for you to process some of the Islamophobic responses that we've seen. I think some would say they're not as surprised by some, like, you know, Representative Ogles saying you should be deported. But others have been a bit surprised by, for example, a New York senator going on a popular radio show and suggesting that you support global jihad. What has that been like for you? And have you had the chance to speak with Senator Gillibrand?
You know, I spoke to Senator Gillibrand soon after the victory on Tuesday evening, and the comments that I've heard, especially from Republicans across the country, and even the comments prior during the primary, were comments that were both unsurprising and yet still quite sad, because they showcase what politics has become for so many. It's a language of darkness and a language of exclusion. And what has kept me hopeful through this is that our vision is one where every New Yorker belongs. And
by the way, chat, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is why radical liberalism is fucking toxic. It's so great. Like, this is why I think AOC is also actually secretly a very good candidate, because AOC could go up there and not do rad lib bullshit. Just go up there and be like, I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about everybody. White people are going to get all the benefits that I'm proposing for everyone. It's for everybody. White, black, and whatever race you are, whatever religion you are. I'm going to take care of you, everybody. And you're all going to be treated equally. Now, if you know anything about American society, treating white people equally with black people would be that would be significantly a benefit for black people. Black people are not treated the same as white people. And when you say treated the same, that gives you a huge amount of room to work with. This is called dog whistling. This is called plausible deniability. This is called, call it the Northern strategy, where you're talking about all these economic things, and the effect is you're helping black people more than whites, but you're also helping white people. So white people are seeing gains and benefits and improvements in their own lives, so they're going to necessarily be attached to those benefits. And we see that with Social Security and Medicare. White people love Social Security and Medicare. They don't give a shit that it's also going to black people, because they need it and they love it. Programs that go to white people and that they can point to as making their life better, they will support. It's universal programs. And that also, ironically, will undermine the racial stigma, because in America, race is a class signal. This is a very uncomfortable point for a lot of people, because there are wealthy black people. There are middle-class black people. But, and this is a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., so don't even try to call me racist, you fucking rad libs. I see you typing already. Is that they made skin color a stigma. They made it a sign and a signal of being in the lower classes. And so it's our vision to make solidaristic across race. Rad libs hate universal programs? Yes. Yes, they do. Rad libs hate universal programs. Rad libs want they are racial pessimists. So basically, if you're like, I believe in a socialist future where racism doesn't exist, a rad lib is a racial pessimist. The movement is sometimes called Afro-pessimism. I'm a white guy, so it's not my job to go in there and go, wow, look how wrong these liberals are. This is like, there are people who believe that racism, once it happens, can never be fixed. I thoroughly disagree.
And there are so many New Yorkers who previously hadn't voted in primaries who saw themselves now in this.
By the way, I hate pessimism. And when I say pessimism, I'm not talking about it in the like connotation of like, this person is always just a downer. No. I mean philosophic pessimism. I despise philosophic pessimism. All right? Like, I consider it to be brain worms in mimetic form. Like, it's actually bad for you. If you fall down the philosophic pessimism trap, you will probably kill yourself. Like, it's that bad. It's that bad. So I am a thorough despiser of philosophic pessimism. But it exists on the left. Quite a lot of people are philosophic pessimists. And there are some good arguments for philosophic pessimism. It's not stupid. It's actually got a lot of good arguments. That's part of why I hate it, because it is psychologically very damaging. And it's not so easy to thoroughly debunk. Some of it is just perspective shifts. It's like the difference between existentialism and nihilism. Like, if you come to the realization that life is what we make it, there is no objective truth or there is no objective morality, you have two perspectives on that. You could see that as intensely liberating, or you could see that in an intensely nihilistic, self-destructive, and toxic sociopathic way. That same piece of information, that same realization, if you apply it through one lens, you could become a sociopath who could justify any crime. Or if you take it through an existentialist worldview, it could be the most liberating reality and the most empowering piece of information that you've ever heard. That we're not bound by the chains of tradition and history, and that we can overcome them and supersede them and build a better world, and that you have the power and you have the control over your own destiny and your own life. That can For some people, that's very scary, but for other people, that's incredibly and intensely liberating. Anyway, not to get too much into these conversations because I don't know how useful they are politically right now, but what I like about Zohran is he is a political optimist. I bounce between the two based if I'm on my meds. Unironically, you're right about that. Unironically, it's how much your neurotransmitters are flowing.
Politics saw their struggles in our policies and took that step to actually cast a ballot. And what excites me is that there are moments where someone will cast a ballot for someone with an exclusionary vision like Donald Trump, and they can still come back to the Democratic Party. And so many of our victories were in neighborhoods that went for Donald Trump in the presidential election. We're talking about College Point or Diker Heights, so many of the same places we were told that we had now lost voters forever. And instead, what we've found is that if you have a relentless focus on an economic agenda and you welcome people back and you turn the political instinct from lecturing to listening, you can still have people come home to the Democratic Party as long as you show them that's a party that will fight for working people, not those that are benefiting off the struggles of working people.
We are going to dig into some of your policies in the second part of this conversation after the break and some of the specifics of these economic policies. But I just want to kind of talk about the reaction and what this means right
What's so weird about MSNBC is how there are no progressives that are just like, there are really no Bernie Sanders people that have a permanent seat in MSNBC. You have a couple Bernie Sanders sympathetic people, but they don't have any contributors that are just left-wingers that go in here and like make strong left-wing argument. It's fucking crazy
right now for the Democratic Party, again, in a big picture way, which is you have always, this campaign was very successful in making you accessible to the media and to voters. Do you think you will still be able to do that going forward now that there is this intense spotlight, there is more pressure on you, you will be pulled in more directions, that the element of success that many say drove your campaign is going to be hard to maintain over the next several months in a general election?
It's definitely more difficult, especially in light of the kinds of threats that I'm receiving. But ultimately, I continue to believe that New Yorkers deserve a mayor that they can see, a mayor that they can speak to, a mayor they can ask questions of, even a mayor that they can yell at. And that is the mayor that I will be. And that's why people will see me across this city, because we need a city that is led by someone who understands it and who looks to represent each
so
and
no
every person.
intent to
if you're going to dialectic between pessimism and optimism, I used my favorite synthesis of the two is from Gramsci, which is pessimism of the intellect, optimism of the will. Now, a lot of people have a hard time with that. That's me. That's me. However, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily pessimistic in my intellect, although I say that as a phrase. I'm a realist. Like, I literally just try to tell the truth as I see it. I don't do any kind of like depresso projections. Like, one of the biggest mistakes you can make, and we're all, excuse me, one of the biggest mistakes you can make, and we're all prone to this, is looking at a current trend and just expecting that trend is going to continue as it is. That is not true. And it's very, 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 very hard to break out of that.
change what you did throughout the primary going forward?
No,
Still make yourself accessible.
You're going to see me walking a lot.
Still going to talk to reporters all the time?
Come on, look where I am.
On a
Will
Sunday
you
night.
commit right now on this
Every
show?
Tuesday
Oh, these are
evening.
Every Sunday
These are
evening.
the tough questions. I actually have a slightly harder question for you than whether you're going to come hang out with us again, because
Please.
I know we are so adorable and fun to spend time with, which is that, you know, progressives have historically had a very complicated relationship with law enforcement and police. You yourself have been very critical of law enforcement. In a social media post from 2020, which has been resurfaced, you referred to the NYPD as, quote, racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. The current NYPD commissioner, Jessica Tisch, has also criticized the decision to ban NYPD LGBTQ plus members from the Pride Parade today. I think we have that up on the screen. What do you think is the right way for Democrats and progressives to talk about law enforcement, or the right?
Here's generally my feeling on this. If you want to be a cop, I don't want to hear your political opinions ever. And in fact, I think a national reform that needs to happen is that police need to be treated the same way as military members are. And that if they state a political opinion and they use the trappings of the office, they should be charged criminally. If you are a general and you are an active duty general and you're going out there going, don't vote for this candidate, they're going to be bad for our country, you should go to prison. And the exact same way, the exact same position should be for the cops. If somebody is being given a gun by the government, they need to shut the fuck up. What if they support your candidate? Oh, what if the cops and military are leftist? Then that's fine. We rename them into the People's Army, and that's fine.
Relationship that they should have with law enforcement today.
You know, I've shown over the course of this campaign a clear recognition of the fact that police are critical to creating public safety across this city. And my proposal for the Department of Community Safety is one that was born out of my conversations with rank and file officers who have told me time and again their frustration with signing up to join the police force to tackle serious crimes and then being asked to play the roles of mental health professionals and social workers and fielding 200,000 mental health calls a year. And ultimately, my desire is for the police to be able to focus on those serious crimes, to be able to do their jobs by stopping asking them to respond to nearly every failure of the social safety net. And that's why we have put forward this proposal to create a department that will tackle mental health crises, homelessness, victim services, hate crimes, gun violence, so that police can go back to those 7 major categories of crime we see in CompStat. Because ultimately, New Yorkers deserve to be safe. They deserve a police force that is able to focus on keeping them safe. And what we've seen is that in 2025, in the first quarter, 65% of crimes that were reported are yet to be solved. We need to make it easier for police to focus on solving those crimes. And I've been very clear, we're not defunding the police. We're sustaining the headcount of the police department and allowing them to do their actual jobs.
All right, chat. God, you know, he's so good at this. He's so open presents. Thanks for the 100 gifties. I feel a lot of you guys and gals and non-binary pals are relying on open presents to gift you a sub. And if you are a fucking person who could afford your own sub, you better be getting your own sub. You better be paying this motherfucking shit forward. Because there are people that are working paycheck to paycheck, parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or disability, or just regular people struggling to make ends meet who couldn't afford their sub. So if you can, you better fucking pay for your own. I want the gifties to go to new viewers and brokey viewers. All right, let's watch. We're gonna keep watching Zohran content, chat. Are you guys bored of Zohran yet? Are you guys bored of Zohran yet? Yes? Too fucking bad, Gloomy. That's why your name is Gloomy. Your name is fucking Gloomy. You're gonna keep watching Zohran until your name is happy.
Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City won his campaign by appealing to young voters and getting them to the polls. But now Zohran Mamdani, a 33-year-old Democratic socialist, is going to have to unite his party behind him and appeal to all New Yorkers. And you are with me now in the New York Bureau. Hi, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So I really want to start with how you did this. I mean, you were a person that most people didn't know your name. They still can't pronounce your name, even though it's spelled like it sounds.
Mamdani. I there's something about his name that trips my British heritage into mispronouncing it. I have to try so hard to say Mamdani. I'm like Mandani. I have to try so hard. This is some sort of British heritage short circuit. So I have to try. The NPR audio filter is fucking annoying. Oh, no, that is a NPR style. It appeals to a certain type of smug asshole. So they have to speak that way because that's the NPR smug asshole voice. It's sort of like soft ASMR. And so a lot of people are like, I kind of like it. Yeah, I know. That's the point. You're allowed to like it, but just know it's kind of perverted. You're kind of a pervert.
You did not have the establishment of your party behind you. The paper of record in New York City, the editorial board of that paper, actually asked voters not to rank you at all, and yet you won. How did you do that? And why did voters choose you?
You know, from the beginning, we wanted to break out of the bubble of New York City politics and into the world of New York City itself. You know, this is a city that I moved to when I was 7 years old. It's where I've grown up. It's where I got my citizenship, where I got married. It's a city that I love. And I've been frustrated over many years to see...
His name has too much seasoning for your British tongue? Exactly. Zohran Mamdani. My tongue is moving in ways, you know? It's moving in certain types of ways, you know? I really have to put the effort in.
How separate often our politics is from our place. And we sought especially to increase turnout amongst New Yorkers who hadn't been participating and to register new voters. And we said that we would do this by espousing a politics of no translation, by speaking directly to the crisis that working people were facing in this city, which is ultimately a crisis of affordability. Because no matter how many politicians try to make it about something else, what we see when we speak to New Yorkers, no matter where they live, no matter who they are, is that they are being pushed out of the city that they love because it's the most expensive city in the United States of America.
After your win, which really stunned a lot of people, the establishment of your party still hasn't really come behind you. Leaders in your party not endorsing you yet. I mean, what needs to happen for you to get them on side at this point? And why haven't they?
You know, I approach coalition building the way that we've approached every day of this campaign. We have to earn support. We have to earn endorsements. And ultimately, it's been very exciting to see that since Tuesday, even before these results have been certified, we've received the endorsements of Congressman Nadler, of Senator Elizabeth Warren, of State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel, who'll be the next borough president of Manhattan, the current borough president, Mark Levine, who'll be the next city controller. We're seeing our coalition expand. And a lot of it is a reflection of the fact that our victory on Tuesday was a decisive victory. We won with a vision that spoke to every single New Yorker. And ultimately, what I think binds us together, both with the endorsers who began this campaign with us and the ones who are joining us now, is that shared belief that this is a city that should be affordable. And by building a tent around that affordability, we saw that in the first round of ranked choice voting, we got more votes than Eric Adams did after 7 rounds in 2021. And we didn't just win places that were considered to be progressive. We won neighborhoods that voted for Donald Trump. We won neighborhoods that voted for Eric Adams. And we did so because ultimately you can actually win people back if you offer them a vision to vote for, not just something to vote against.
All right, chat. Well, we have the hype train, level 7. Thank you. Mr. Oakby is going to get a conductor badge with 440 bits. Dr. Braidslug with the 12 gifties. Look at that, you little sneaks. You little sneaks. Having trouble getting your partner climax orally? Just write out Zohran Mamdani's name with your tongue. Zohran Mamdani. You know, that's not crazy. That chatter is actually kind of cooking. The alphabet style is dumb because you're constantly changing up. In order to do it correctly, you need to find what your partner enjoys and then provide that continuous, you know, consistent pressure, and that is what works. If you're just randomly doing shit, they're gonna fall out. Unless they specifically say do random shit because they're a fucking weirdo. That's not the way to go. Mike, are you worried what Zohran will end up moderating and become a progressive lib? Bro, if he was going to do that, he would already do it. The only way he's going to be moderating on shit is stuff that's legitimately hurting him and he can't speak his way out of it. Zohran is one of us. He's actually one of us. He went up there and said, do you like capitalism? And he said no. Imagine not writing out the Shahada. Oh, fuck. Would that work? Can I ask an Islamic cleric, if I write out the Shahada while doing cunnilingus, will that work? Will I see the light of Allah? Are there any Islamic clerics in the chat?
Against.
Now, the names you just mentioned,
like
some of the...
If you spell out the... never mind. Okay, never mind. I just had a Reddit atheist invasive thought. I'm not going to do Reddit atheist jokes.
Them were people that Americans would expect to endorse you within your party. But there are leaders in your party who have been asked directly. Chuck Schumer, Senator Chuck Schumer, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, both from New York, who were asked directly and still didn't endorse you. So what needs to happen for them to come on side? Have you met with them?
I've appreciated the conversations I've had with them and the recognition of our campaign's focus on that affordability as being something that is meeting this moment in time. And I'm looking forward to sitting down with both of them, because ultimately what we see in this primary election is an example of how we can also start to unite our party and build our party such that we can take on and defeat this right-wing authoritarianism we're seeing in Washington, D.C. And I give you that as an analysis because of the fact that in November, New York was the state that swung most towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points. And that swing happened far from the caricatures of Trump voters. It happened in the hearts of immigrant New York City. And when I went to Fordham Road in the Bronx, when I went to Hillside Avenue in Queens a few days after that election, and I asked Democrats, who did you vote for and why? They told me again and again they voted for Donald Trump because they remembered being able to afford their life 4 years ago more than they could today. They cited their rent, their groceries, their childcare. And I asked them, what would it take to bring you back? and they said a relentless focus on an economic agenda. And that's what we've led with freezing the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, taking the slowest buses in the nation, making them fast and free, and delivering universal childcare, and showing that voters in the same places that had been written about as being lost to the Democrats forever, in places like Diker Heights and Bath Beach and Bensonhurst and College Point across the city, are voters that can still come back if you offer them a vision that they see themselves in.
What are your thoughts, Mike? I get wanting Zohran to have broadly exactly our politics. Okay. Zohran's point. Okay, this is how you should look at Zohran. Zohran is running for office. He needs to get 50% plus one of the people to agree with him. If you're listening to him and you're going, he doesn't agree with everything I'm saying inside of my book club, you're fucking dumb. The question you have to ask yourself is, would Zohran read the books in my book club? Or has he already read the books in my book club? And does he largely agree with me? If the answer is yes, you should be fucking ecstatic because he's going to put more people in your fucking book club. I don't care what type of leftist you are. Zohran is good for you. He creates more space for you. Use his campaign as space clearing for you so that you could push even further left. You can make even more strong arguments. It's just objectively the facts, man. It's not even close. The idea that he's distracting from some other like vanguardist movement is just a complete and utter delusional lie. Where were you guys before he ran? Where was this fucking vanguard movement blowing up? I want to know. I want to support it. I'm a revolutionary supporter. Like, where is it? I literally don't know because it doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure Zohran was in Bread and Roses caucus, which is considered one of the left-wing caucuses within DSA. I am not a fan of any of the caucuses. I've looked at all the caucuses, and if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't like any of them. I'm in some sort of like fusionist position that no one else holds. Like, I think the left at DSA is very annoying and not in a good way. But the right on DSA is also incredibly lib. So I'm not really a fan of any of them, to be honest. Bread and Roses is the best. Probably true. Probably true. It doesn't mean I hate anybody. I don't hate them. It's just like nobody is quite hitting. I need to go and read all the caucus documents. Basically, like some people have asked me, I consider myself, it's been called centrist Marxist, but I hate that term because centrist is such a poison term. Centrism refers to the fact that you are a centrist between revolution and reform, not centrist in like politics. I would say it's more of I want to call it a hybrid Marxist, which basically means yes, do it, bet. Like, is somebody running to like, you know, nationalize the oil companies and they're running for Senate? Bet, support that. Is somebody setting up a socialist vanguard party that's directly seizing the means of production? Yes, bet, do that. I don't think either path is, quote, right. Okay? I think the one creates the conditions for the other and vice versa. I think they're both right. And the only thing that's wrong is saying my specific like reformism is right. That's wrong. Only revolution is right is wrong. Don't engage in any kind of electoral or political work is wrong. Both of that. So like if you're like only do electoral political work, that's fucking wrong. And if you're saying, oh, we doing any electoral political work is somehow hurting the movement, that's dead fucking wrong. You have to do both.
Let's talk about your policies, because one of the criticisms that your detractors have is that they sound great. It sounds great to have free childcare and free buses and groceries that you can afford. But a lot of what you're promising is out of the mayor's hand. It's something that will have to happen at the state level. It will have to happen, as you mentioned, with other actors. So how can you actually fulfill any of these promises?
Absolutely. What we've seen in our history of our city is, especially since the fiscal crisis, the city is a creature of the state. Any mayor that has an ambition that meets the scale of the crisis of the people that they're seeking to represent will have to work with Albany. And the reason that I put forward this agenda is not only because it's urgent, but because it's feasible. And it's just a question of putting in the work and building the coalition. The same people who will tell you that making every bus free in New York City is a non-starter are the ones who would described my campaign 8 months ago as a non-starter. And what we've shown is that we can build a new kind of politics. We can build a new kind of coalition, and we can deliver actual results.
One of the ways, or the way that you say you're going to pay for these programs, is by increasing the corporate taxes on corporations.
By matching New York State's top corporate tax rate to that of New Jersey. So we are at 7.25%, they are at 11.5%.
Okay, and then also an income tax on anybody who makes over $1 million, right?
Yes,
2%.
the top 1% of New Yorkers.
So again, that's a non-starter for the governor, Kathy Hochul. She said that. So how are you going to pay for it? And how are you going to get people like Kathy Hochul and others on side to give you the money or do the thing that you think needs to happen for you to get the money for these programs?
Well, I've appreciated my conversations with the governor, and I'm excited to work together because ultimately we haven't seen enough of that between city and state over many years, especially when former Governor Cuomo was leading the state. It was often a relationship of animosity, and one where New Yorkers didn't even have clarity as to what was a state function or a city function. Some may remember the fact that the former governor refused to acknowledge that the MTA was actually something that the state was ultimately responsible for. But I am confident of building that coalition. And the reason is also my own experience as an assembly member. When I went into Albany in 2021, representing a store.
Kathy Hochul is being primaried by her lieutenant governor who's backing Zohran. Yeah. The idea that Zohran's not going to be able to do his stuff because he's going to be blocked by other Democrats is what they're saying. And what Zohran is basically saying back is, well, then we'll change their mind, which is another way of saying we're going to do a lot of primaries. And this is part of what left-wing politics needs. There are a lot of people who are pieces of shit who will vote for left-wing policy if they're scared. There are actually very, very few people that are true neoliberals. And this is actually the problem with neoliberalism, and they know it, which is if you create conditions that are dangerous enough for the status quo, a bunch of status quo Democrats are going to fold because they don't want to lose their fucking position. And if they don't fold, they'll be targeted. This is a testament to the governor's lack of vision and leadership. The leader of the New York Democratic Party should be able to bring the party together and endorse a Democratic nominee against a compromised mayor and a Republican. And look at these people. Look at these K-hivers. They're getting fucking destroyed on Twitter. Like, it's so fucking... I don't think people... if you are a doomer, I need you to, like, wake up and realize that things are changing. A lot. How many boomers have died since 2016? How many boomers and silent generation have died since 2016 in the US? Is it tough to pinpoint? Why can't you, AI? I know what they are. How many are left? Fuck, this is a question that I might have to actually do original research on. They're dying every day. I think Gen X is the biggest enemy. Gen X is a tiny generation. And by the way, I actually think Gen X will probably come back quite a bit. Gen X is a tiny generation. So boomers disappearing, Gen X is not going to make up for that. Millennials overtake baby boomers as America's largest generation. Do you see this curve? Do you see this silent generation curve? Do you see this boomer curve? In 2020, there was the same population of millennials and boomers. The reason why millennial population is increasing is immigration, by the way. In case you're like, how are we getting more millennials? It's immigration. So by 2028, we will have 11 million more millennials than boomers. Sorry. In fact, there are going to be more Gen X than boomers in 2028. So we're going to be having a completely different paradigm. A completely different paradigm. Before, boomers and millennials were the same population during the primary. Now we have 20% more millennials than boomers. It's a completely different paradigm. Millennials are seizing power. That's what Zohran represents.
Story in Long Island City. I found a different governor there, Andrew Cuomo, and he did not want to raise taxes on billionaires and corporations, the very people who funded his campaigns over the years, to fully fund the public schools that he had starved. And through the coalition that we built, of which I was one part, we were able to overcome his objections and raise $4 billion in new taxes that would then fund those schools. And one thing that I really appreciate...
I admire your faith in Gen Xers, but it feels like lead paint is only getting stronger in them. Guys, part of the reason why Gen X has turned against the left is because I'm going to be quite honest with you. The Democratic Party sucks. And it's a artifact of white people falling off. Because a lot of Gen X is whiter. Like, Gen X is whiter than the other generations. So it's really about working class white people falling away for the party. Even still, Gen Xers are the most conservative generation in history. Which, I need you to, like, hear that and listen to it. And it's Gen X are the most conservative generation in American history. Like, in modern history. And people are like, they're like blown away by this, but it's true. Boomers are conservative, there's no doubt. In fact, boomers were much more conservative. Like, the GI generation, I believe, was the most left-wing generation in American history. And I think boomers were significantly more right-wing. And Gen X is a little bit more right-wing than boomers. Like, millennials are very much... and people really hate that. They don't... What is GI? That's the generation that fought World War II. The greatest generation. The greatest generation was way more left-wing than boomers were. Boomers take credit for the stuff that the greatest generation did because they were young when it happened. Like, it was World War II veterans that signed the fucking Civil Rights Act. It was Earl Warren and shit. I mean, he was even older. Earl Warren is old as fuck. But like, that's the kind of thing that's funny about history is people will say that things that happened when they were like 20 were things their generation did. But in reality, that's what their parents are doing. Because parents, when you're 20, it is the generation of yours that's the parents of the 20-year-old that are actually in power doing the stuff.
Appreciate about our current governor, Kathy Hochul, is she is laser focused on affordability. And what we've seen is that these policies I'm speaking to you about, they are not just policies that people are voting for incidentally while they're voting for me. They're voting for this platform. I go around New York City. If I'm at events, I start saying the platform and people finish my sentence. I say, we're going to freeze the rent, make buses fast and free, deliver universal childcare. And that's because people know what exactly it is that they deserve. And I'm confident of being able to deliver on that agenda.
But again, what makes you confident about the coalition building when you're hearing the governor say it's a non-starter? She hasn't also endorsed you yet, as these other leaders within your party have not done. What gives you that confidence that you can overcome that if you become mayor?
The experience that I've had. You know, over this campaign, there was a time when many of the ideas we were putting forward were considered to be distinct to our campaign. And yet as we built it, more and more candidates started to embrace those same policies. And I am confident of seeing that happen across the political spectrum. Even Andrew Cuomo, in his own transportation plan, said that he wanted to explore making buses free. That wasn't a recognition of me as an individual. That was a recognition of the popularity of that as a proposal. And when you look at the polling, whether it's for making buses free, whether it's for freezing the rent for rent-stabilized tenants, whether it's even for a network of municipal-owned grocery stores, you see that it has support not just among Democrats, but oftentimes even among independents and Republicans. And that's what's so exciting about this moment is that we're reshaping the political map and we're showcasing a way that we fight for our democracy, not just in opposition to authoritarianism, but also by increasing New Yorkers' faith in the ability of that same democracy to deliver to the problems that they're facing on a daily basis.
Do you have a plan B to pay for your policies? I mean, a state cannot go into debt. You have to be able to pay for what you've promised. Again, Governor Hochul has said raising taxes is a non-starter. So do you have a plan B?
I am wedded to the outcomes that I've spoken about. The first things that we launched this campaign on October 23rd was how.
So basically, chat, and this is a common problem whenever you're talking with liberals, is they will say your ideas are good, but they're not politically plausible. Excuse me. Let me start that again. Let me drink some water. Hold on. Okay. You'll see this kind of shit with liberals all the time, which is they will say, I like your ideas, but they're not politically plausible. And then you're going to be like, yes, they are. And they're like, well, I'll vote against it. It's like, wait, you're voting against the idea that you like? And this is a way that they don't have to actually talk about the ideas. They could just say, oh, it's not politically plausible, you're being pie in the sky. It's so they don't actually have to talk about why your ideas work. And because I want you to understand, every single policy Zohran is proposing already exists in the world today. Free buses exist all over the place. Municipal or government-run grocery stores exist in the United States. Freezing the rent, it happened back in 2016. Nothing he is proposing does not already exist either in this country or successfully around the world. Period. So when you're saying, well, we can't do that, they're just refusing to look at the evidence. You're supposed to be the party of science. You're supposed to be the party of knowledge. And I think what she's trying to get him to say, honestly, I'll say it for him, which is either you support these policies that are eminently practical, or we will primary you, just like he did Andrew Cuomo. If he could smash Andrew Cuomo out of the fucking park, you think Kathy Hochul, who has negative charisma, if she was a D&D character, she'd have 6 charisma, is going to beat Zohran 20 charisma? Good fucking luck. We will primary your ass.
We would make this city more affordable, freezing the rent, making buses fast and free, delivering universal childcare. If there are other means by which you can pay for that beyond the taxes we've proposed, by all means, I am ready for that discussion. But ultimately, what I will be judged by is the delivery of these commitments to making the city affordable. And to me, there are other means by which you can raise revenue. You know, we have looked at a number of different things at city and at state level. But ultimately, the ones that I think make the most sense are by matching the corporate tax rate of our regional neighbor and by increasing income taxes on the top 1%, in part because even after you accomplish those things, both of those groups of New Yorkers who make $1 million or more a year or corporations that make millions in profits would still pay less in taxes than they did before Trump's tax cuts in his first administration. And I say that because too often it's described as unrealistic when you have an ambition for working people and the way in which you'll pay for it. But it's actually firmly grounded in our precedent.
You describe yourself as a democratic socialist. You embrace that label wholeheartedly. And I think that scares some of the people within your own party. And
Whoa! It scares people. Notice how these are emotionally charged, vacuous points. You're scared. You're scared. What scares you? Does Denmark scare you? Does Sweden scare you? What scares you? Does Singapore's housing scare you? What are you scared about? Be very, very fucking specific. What are you scared of, you fucking bitch?
I think it scares some American voters. How would you explain democratic socialism to American voters?
You know, as a Muslim democratic socialist, I am no stranger to bad PR and having to explain these labels and terms, which many have been taught to fear for many years. You know, this is a language that I learned from Bernie Sanders' 2016 run, when he ran for president, and I understood, in fact, that this was what described my politics. And ultimately, his focus in that time was on income inequality, and that is my focus in this time. And I think about the words of Dr. King decades ago, who said, call it democracy.
He should say Martin Luther King Jr. He should really, he's skipping over it too fast. He's saying Dr. King, and I agree. I think that comes from being, ironically, in a lot of black spaces where they say Dr. King. He should say to white people, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the leader of the civil rights movement. He should really savor that. He should sink in on that. Mike, chill. Jesus Christ. What do you mean chill? I'm telling you exactly the advice that he should hear. White people don't know what you mean when you say Dr. King. Okay? Like, you need to slow it down and savor that point. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. And it makes it really hard to interrupt him, because when you savor that point, it's very hard to interrupt. Okay, results. Was I right? It was 12 points on the dot. All right, hold on. This shit is not working. Why is this broken? I guess I'll snip this and post. A 12. He fucking crushed him. He fucking crushed him. An absolute fucking landslide. I'm trying to figure out how to post this. How I want to do it. So Brad Lander, Zohran got, when all these people were eliminated, Zohran got 99,069 votes, which is, what was the total number of votes transferred? So what, 52,000 exhaustions? He got 2/3 of the ranked choice vote. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna do it because I wanna make it wow. Okay, let's make a post together, chat. Wow. Zohran, I can't type. Zohran got nearly 2/3 of the ranked choice votes, and his lead climbs to a massive 12-point victory. Total landslide in New York City. What do you guys think? Wow. Zohran Mamdani got nearly 2/3 of the ranked choice votes, and his lead climbs to a massive 12-point victory. Total landslide in New York City. Cuomo crushed. Yes. Yes. Wow, you predicted 56%. I know I did. I fucking did. Did anyone make a clip? I said it was going, I think it's going to be 12%, but my range is 12 to 14%. I literally predicted it exactly fucking correct. Live on stream. Till tomorrow when he gets 56% of the vote. Because you think it's good now. Wait till tomorrow when he gets 56% of the vote. Because you think, how? I'm good at this. I'm good at this. I'm fucking good at this. Thank you, Open Presents, for giving me 100 subs. I have so many of these. I have so many of these. I have so many of these. People will still say, you never predicted anything. And I'll be like, all 10 members of the New York City's Progressive Caucus who faced a primary challenger last week have won. One council member was awaiting the RCV result. He sat at 49 in the first round. Just re-released results confirmed he has prevailed. And this is what we need to do. We need to do a full court press in every major city. Quite frankly, Zohran Mamdani got nearly 2/3 of the ranked choice votes, and his lead climbs to a massive 12-point victory. Total landslide in New York. Cuomo crush. I also exactly predicted this number. Here you go, chat. It doesn't matter. An absolute rout by Zohran. 56% by round 3. BBB got passed by Vance.
And that if his act to protect, for start, much was a noob.
Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young.
Yeah, Captain Carl. I'm already talking about Saeed.
Okay. Pursuant to the order, 4 February 29, 1960, the hour of 12 noon having arrived, the Senate having been in continuous session since yesterday, the Senate will suspend for a prayer by the Senate chaplain.
Did he vote yet?
Let us pray. Eternal, ever-blessed God, help our senators to walk on your path for the glory of your name. Help them to walk with humility so that they will strive to be servants of the people. Help them to walk with forgiveness so that they will forgive as they desire to be forgiven. Help them to walk with courage so that nothing will deflect them from the way they ought to take. Help them to walk with endurance so that nothing may daunt or discourage them until they reach their goal. Lord, help them to walk with loyalty so that nothing will ever seduce their hearts from their devotion to you. We pray in your loving name. Amen.
And that's why we will take healthcare away from the sick and food from the hungry. Because you think it's good now. Wait till tomorrow when he gets 56% of the vote. Yeah, I was just waiting. Did he vote? Did he cast the vote and I just missed it like a dipshit? Where did he cast the vote? I'm sorry, chat. Dude, I missed. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry. I was looking at the next thing waiting for it, and I think I just ADHD locked in. All right, well, it goes back to the House.
Or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
The House, it barely passed, so there might be hope of blocking it there.
And I find that when I speak to New Yorkers, no matter how they may describe themselves or their politics, they do believe that dignity should be a reality for each and every person that calls this city home. And sometimes when we just break it down into the ways we interact with our city, libraries and sanitation and public schools, then you realize that in fact, those are necessary for a dignified life. So is public transit. So is housing. So is childcare. These are not negotiable things or luxury items. They are the building blocks of any person's life in this city. And even with public transit, for example, $2.90 may not seem like a lot to many who are listening. It's out of reach for 1 in 5 New Yorkers. And if it's out of reach for the very New Yorkers for whom we are intending to lift up with so much of our social programs, then we have to interrogate whether this current model is serving that intent.
You made some waves this weekend.
I mean, like, Zohran won a massive landslide. Eric Adams barely won. And the day after Eric Adams wins, all these Democrats come out and endorse him. Zohran wins a massive landslide, and they're saying that he said shit, that they're concerned about what he said about Jews when he didn't even say it. Theo has brought me something, chat. What is it?
Pancake.
Pancake? Wow. You gave me a big dollop of raspberry as well. Diabetes? Thank you, Theo. What kind of pancakes? Blueberry? Nice. Feeders in. Feeders in. Unasked for. Cuomo actually wound up with 24K more votes than Adams got in 2021 when he won the final round narrowly. Mamdani just transformed the electorate. You can't create new voters? The stupidity of right-wingers. I told you, chat, there's two types of right-wingers. The ignorant and the evil. Sometimes both, but always at least one. There's no such thing as a nice conservative who's intelligent. They do not exist. They actually do not exist. In my entire life, I've met tens of thousands of people who self-describe as conservative. They either are ignorant, in which case they could be nice and a good person. They just think conservative means something different than what it actually means. Or they're the most evil pieces of shit I've ever met in my life. No exceptions. None. There's never been a good conservative.
When you said that you didn't believe that billionaires had the right to exist, what does that mean exactly? I mean, are you talking about redistribution of wealth where you take money from these billionaires and give them to Americans who make less?
I was speaking about the stark nature of income inequality in this city and in this country. And ultimately, I think the better question is whether working people have the right to exist. Because what we've seen in this city is that more...
Holy shit. It is so rare when I see a politician jujitsu like that. Yo, this is like watching the Matrix scene. The first Matrix scene when Neo gets fucking thrown on his ass. Holy shit. The real question is, do working people have the right to exist? God damn, that's good.
To Americans who make less?
I was speaking about the stark nature of income inequality in this city and in this country. And ultimately, I think the better question is whether working people have the right to exist. Because what we've seen in this city is that more and more working people are being pushed out. And the vision that I'm speaking about, it's a vision that I want everyone to enjoy and benefit from, including billionaires. And I say this often, both in meetings and also in conversations, that though my taxes that I'm proposing are ones that would be on the top 1% of New Yorkers, on the most profitable corporations, it's not taxes that will detract from their life. It's in fact taxes that will benefit everyone across the city, including those who are being taxed. And we need a better quality of life for all New Yorkers. And ultimately, this is not an interest in taxation.
I'm sorry, but if you have $1 billion, you still leave your penthouse. And if you're walking down the streets and that are choked by congestion, that have homeless people and mentally ill people wandering the streets because they don't have any services, where people are desperately poor and therefore willing to commit economic crimes to get by, where the city parks are underfunded, you'll have rat infestations, you'll have stench, you'll have filth, you'll have humid detritus, so you can't walk the streets. What are you gonna do? Go from your penthouse to a fucking orb, flanked by bodyguards, constantly worried? Don't you want to just pay to not have that anxiety? This is what I never understood. If you're a billionaire, you'll pay billions of dollars for a yacht, but you won't pay a few thousand to have a city where the people aren't trying to fucking kill you? Like, that seems crazy to me that you wouldn't take that deal. You can cut your fucking security team budget.
In and of itself, it's an interest in finding revenue to pay for something.
Oh my
that will
God, that's such a good idea. The bodyguard tax. We should have a massive bodyguard tax. Yes. Yes. Caviar tax? No caviar tax, chat. No caviar tax. No. Everyone should be able to buy as much caviar as they want. No. There should be no caviar tax. No. No champagne tax. Okay. Let's be okay. Okay. We're champagne socialists here. All right. Let's not go crazy. All right.
Transform life in the city.
So you weren't proposing that your policies would ultimately lead to a New York with no billionaires?
No, that's not what I was proposing.
Do you think your views as a democratic socialist is why some of your own party is distancing itself from you, despite this win that you had in New York City?
I think people are catching up to Tuesday. And it may take some people time, because what we saw on Tuesday is in many ways in tension with what we'd been told about politics for a long time in this city and even in this country. You know, the general conventional wisdom is that the left can only win low turnout elections. We saw that the top 3 ages that turned out were 18 to 24, 25 to 29, 30 to 34. That is unlike anything we've seen in this city and in this country. And coming to terms with something that really reshapes what's possible and what a coalition looks like, it may take some people time. And what's so exciting to me is that this was a campaign that was laser focused on an economic.
If you earn over $99,999 per year, you're taxed $1,000 extra per inch you are over 6 feet. True! True! Tax the tolls! Yes! Tax the tolls! Woo! Okay, those are the rich tolls, chat. The rich tolls. I'm just kidding. We're not taxing the tolls.
Economic agenda, and on making clear that every New Yorker belongs in this city. They deserve the same respect, the same recognition. And ultimately, what good is it if we call this the greatest city in the world if the people who built it can't afford to live here? And the increased turnout, it's not just generational. I also say this as the first South Asian elected official, the first Muslim elected official to ever run for mayor. The turnout in those same communities has been incredible to see.
Is your party maybe refusing to learn any lessons from your win? I mean, are you frustrated at all with your party in the sense that you did something that a lot of people thought was impossible, whether they like your candidacy or not? And yet here we are, where you are convincing part of it to get behind you.
I'm not frustrated. I think that what we're seeing now is less than a week since those results.
Yeah.
And it sent a shockwave through our politics. And I think that it will take people time to digest those results, and the fact that so much of this analysis that we have treated as fact is actually out of step with where New Yorkers are. And I'm excited to earn the support of those that...
God damn, he's... Chat, we are so unlucky that he can't run for president, man. He's him. He's him. As a grandiose narcissist, I watch politicians all the time, and I'm like, I'm better than that fucking idiot. This is the first politician I've watched in a very long time where I'm like, damn, he's spitting. He's actually S tier. The future I see for Zohran ends in the the United States Senate. He's not old enough to run for Senate yet. That's also crazy. Wait, no, he is. You have to be 30. He's 33. He can run. He's 33. He's 30 for Senate. It's 35 for president. So he's old enough to run. I could see him as the senator from New York. And I think you have to be a citizen for how many years? I think it's 30 and 10, right? 30 years old and 10, you know, citizenship requirement for Senate. 9 years. How long has he been a citizen? How long has Zohran been a citizen? 2018. So he's only been, he literally hasn't been a citizen long enough yet. So I see him, but he will in 2028. I see him as a national political figure for a long time. And and he could be the Senate majority leader. Okay, like there are positions of extreme importance that he could have. New York City mayor is the largest city in America. It's the largest city it's one of the largest cities in the world, period. So we have somebody who could be a Democratic Party leader for decades to come. No, Mike, he's ours till 2033. No, fuck no. If we have a chance to take out Chuck or Kirsten Gillibrand, we're taking him out. Have Brad Lander or some other fucking dope be the mayor of New York. What the real problems with New York are not because of the New York municipal government. They're because of federal government policies. Like the fact that the federal government cannot give any money for public transit operations. Did you know that? The fact that the federal government has made it illegal to increase the number of public housing units. Did you know that? These are federal government policies that make being a left-wing mayor impossible, that have to change. That's what people don't understand about this local election bullshit, because you guys, the local elections have been rendered handcuffed in this very narrow range of status quo. You can do very little. Zohran's already pushing the fucking envelope with rent freezes and free buses because those systems and programs were built decades ago. That's why he's able to do anything at all.
I have spoken to, and those that I haven't even met yet. And I think that that's at the core of my desire.
Mike, how does it feel having the same amount of subscribers as Asmongold? Well, my fans are like adults who are normal and who are like employed and take baths, whereas his viewers are like America's NEETs. NEET is a term from Japan, which means like not engaged in education, employment, or training. In other words, the family parasite, like the people that sit in the basement or in their childhood bedroom at 35 and who, you know, they don't date because they can't. They don't know how. And so, and because they're narcissistic, they point the blame outside of them. And a lot of their problems are because of society structures. But people like Asmongold mock that idea. And so it gives them this like security blanket of they don't have to do anything. They don't have to care about anything. That's what he's doing to them. So Asmongold is giving these incels and these guys permission to not change, to point the figures at others instead of realizing that we have to join together in solidarity to build a better world. Asmongold takes money from the people like Elon Musk that have made our world shit. And that's ultimately what the right wing, that's the whole right wing agenda. Billionaires convince marginalized and alienated people that some sort of scapegoat is the cause of their problems, as opposed to the structures that the society currently engineers to exist. Marx had a term for people like Asmongold. He called them lumpen proletariat. Now, there have been a lot of people that have fought back against the idea that the lumpen proletariat are actually reactionary. In Marx's theory, we actually found that it was the lumpen proles that were the strongest allies of the far right and the status quo and counter-revolutionaries and reactionaries. And we've found that it's still the case. The left is helmed by people that are workers and that are intellectual and that are educated and that are empathetic. The far right requires lumpen proles, like Asmongold's audience, to be the foot soldiers of the right wing, counter-revolutionary force. Karl Marx and Engels coined the word in the 1840s and used it to refer to the unthinking lower strata of society exploited by reactionary and counter-revolutionary forces, particularly in the context of the revolutions of 1848. Criminals, vagabonds, and prostitutes are usually included in this category. Now, I personally think that with the rise of OnlyFans and the rise of sex work, prostitutes as the type that he was describing have actually become class conscious. And Asmongold, I mean, is there any better word to describe Asmongold than a vagabond? His 50K viewers have to be bots. I know for a fact that Tectone, his viewers are questionable to say the least. And based on that, I think it's pretty safe to say that there is a pattern and practice of botting that exists on Twitch. And I don't do it, which is why I have, see how I have 94,000 followers and 4,700 viewers? It's because those followers are legitimate followers that I earned slowly over time. And my viewers are real viewers. You don't see me gaining 100,000 followers in a day. I don't know if I don't think Asmongold bots. I think, or if he does, he doesn't need to. Whether he has 30,000 legitimate viewers or 50,000 legitimate viewers, it's the same thing. It's really the same thing. Although I do think Asmongold only really cares about one thing, which is relevancy. He doesn't really care about anything. He's a nihilist. He's a nihilist. He just sees people as a way to have fun, and he wants attention. Like, he doesn't really value anything. He's not really like what we would consider to be a well-rounded individual. In modern usage, it's commonly included to define the chronically unemployed, the homeless, and career criminals. Now, I don't think that the homeless are necessarily lumpen proles that are going to side with the far right. The type of chronically unemployed NEET has clearly been activated through people like Asmongold. And isn't it like kind of weird how this same theory is still applicable? Like, Marx's theory is still applicable. The same shit. I think there's been changes on specifically the composition of what the modern lumpenproletariat is, but it definitely exists. It definitely exists. And I do think that some of these groups can be mobilized. It's just right now in America, they're not. They are the vanguard of the far right. Where are you going to find a Nazi? You go to a fucking anime forum. You're going to find it. You know what I mean? Like if you were trying to find a Nazi with the fewest clicks, you know, you go to the neat subreddit without directly going to a Nazi website.
Is not to win an argument or represent the people who've already voted for me, but rather to lead this entire city. That's 8.5 million people. And I know that I could, you know, can win this general election with the same number of voters that we had in the primary. But that's not the way that you govern. You govern by ensuring that you look to every New Yorker, especially the ones who had questions or doubts or suspicions, and you give them the time to actually speak to them. Because I think for far too long, we've thought of politics as removed from people. And I believe New Yorkers deserve a mayor that they can see, that they can talk to, that they can ask questions of, even one that they can yell at. Because what's more New York City than that? You know, I was having a appreciation dinner for our team. I was in a backyard giving a speech about the incredible work that so many of our team members made. And then there was a guy who put his head out the window. He said, "Shut up." And I was like, this is New York City. You know, I'm likely going to be the Democratic nominee of this city, and I'm appreciating the work that changed politics in this city for a long, long time. And this guy just doesn't have the time for it. And that's the place that I love.
Let's talk about that broader appeal, because your campaign appealed to voters.
That's a very good thread. I might have to check that out. Zohran Mamdani's major proposals: rent freezes, universal pre-K, free bus transit, city-run groceries, $30 an hour wage, universal childcare, have precedent across the U.S., including in conservative states. I'll have to check it out, man. I'll have to check it out.
You were registered as Democrats. Now you are going to appeal to a larger city, independents, Republicans, and you struggled in places to get older Black voters. You struggled with lower income.
Has anybody been able to, has the precinct by precinct data been released for the ranking? Is that going to happen? Like, is there like a precinct by precinct data, or is it just citywide rank? Does anybody know? I don't know the answer to this question. Let me see if I can ask somebody who might know.
Voters during the primary. How are you going to appeal to those voters and that broader, the broader political landscape?
You know, I had a young man who came up to me with about an hour left before Election Day. He was on his motorcycle, came up with his helmet, he took it off, and he said, "I want to vote for you, but I don't know if I can." And we pulled out his phone, we found his voter registration. I was ready to get on the back of his motorbike and go to a poll site with him. And we found out that he was a Republican. And to me, it was just one example of how if you keep that door open to each and every New Yorker and you ask them for one thing, which is to believe in a city that everyone can afford, you will find far more interest than just those who belong to one party. And there are so many New Yorkers who I heard of who went to vote into the polls and were turned away because they didn't know that they were an independent. They didn't know that they were unaffiliated. They didn't know that they weren't able to be part of that political process. And I'm excited that in November they will have a chance to cast that same vote. And ultimately, what we saw, for example, with Black voters in New York City, you know, Andrew Cuomo had a sizable advantage from the beginning of this race. At some points, we managed to close that gap immensely, and we managed to win young Black New Yorkers who were a real core part of our campaign. Now, my job is to earn the trust and support of older Black New Yorkers, and I'm going to do that by respecting them and the work that they have done and going to meet with them. And what I'm excited by is that whereas for the first 3-4 months of this campaign, I couldn't get into a church because nobody knew who I was. You know, I began this campaign at 1% name recognition, and that's being charitable to myself. And then by the end of it, I was double booked on Sundays. And now we have more months to have those same kinds of visits, to introduce myself again and again. And I know that in this last race, I wasn't just running against Andrew Cuomo. I was also running against the legacy of Mario Cuomo, because so many voters told me I'm voting for Mario's son. And ultimately, there's only so much you can do over 8 months. And I'm excited to have more time to talk about how this agenda that I am so excited by is one that actually speaks to the very reason that this city has been pushing Black New Yorkers out for decades.
Eric Adams says you could have fixed these things as an assembly member, and now you're running for mayor, which has doesn't have the ability to increase taxes like Albany does. What do you say to that?
It's funny. I feel like you could ask Eric Adams that question when he was running for mayor after having also served in Albany. I think ultimately he's trying to distract from his own record. You know, when I began this campaign, I began it running to defeat Eric Adams' second term. And then after he worked so closely with Donald Trump that he realized he could not win a Democratic primary and dropped out of it, the inheritor of that second term was Andrew Cuomo, with the same donors, the same corruption, the same agenda. And now I'm back to that original architect. And ultimately what Eric Adams' record has been is raising the rent on more than 2 million New Yorkers by more than 9%, on increasing the water bill to the highest it's been in 13 years, siding with Con Edison when they wanted to increase gas and electric bills by $65 a month, and promising to fight for the very working class New Yorkers that voted for him and instead betraying them to instead cater to the donors that put him there. And my track record in Albany is one where I've shown the possibility of this very work that I want to deliver as the next mayor. I'm fighting to make every bus free because I won the first free bus pilot, where we saw those exact results. I'm fighting for dignity for working class New Yorkers because I won nearly $500 million in debt relief for working class taxi drivers. These are the ingredients of the exact agenda that I'm looking to deliver.
Another criticism from Eric Adams is that actually you speak as a man of the people, but you were raised by a very famous film director.
His father was very famous? You mean marginally successful? And his father was governor? What do you mean?
Director and a well-known academic, that you don't know what it is not to have. I mean, do you know what New Yorkers go through who didn't grow up with what you had, and do you know how to serve them?
You know, I have always been honest to the fact of how I grew up in this city and the fact that the childhood that I had was one that I believe every New Yorker should have, one that is sadly out of reach for so many. And what we've seen is that we deserve a mayor who puts every single tool at our disposal to use in delivering working people a life that they can afford. And ultimately what we've seen is there's no doubting the struggles that Eric Adams has gone through over the course of his life, but there's also no doubting the record that he has as leading the city.
It appears that Zohran has won Queens. It appears that he has actually run Queens and Manhattan, although these are the first round results. So he's definitely going to be winning Queens. He's definitely going to be winning. I want to see just how close the final results actually are. He gets 2/3 of the votes. So I think he's going to end up winning a lot more precincts. Unfortunately, we don't have it. We don't have Zohran Mamdani, get it right, wins Democratic primary for New York City mayor by a whopping 12-point margin. That's a landslide, chat. If you win by 12 points in a contested race where you're outspent, that's a landslide. That's a fucking landslide. They said significant margin. They would call that a landslide if it had been the other way around. They would say Cuomo crushes left in landslide.
A point of order against page 1, lines 3 to 5 of the pending amendment, which violates Section 313B1A of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974.
The point of order is sustained. The text will be stricken.
They're not calling it the big beautiful bill anymore, chat. Way to go! Way to go, Chuck!
What the hell is happening in New York City? I hear there is this candidate for mayor, Zohran Mamdani, who does not like capitalism. Are you kidding me? Mr. Mamdani needs to go talk to people like me who lived under a socialist system. Yes, Zohran, go.
Bro, you're wearing a German shirt. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. You are wearing the Volkswagen, and it says in German. Bro, I can't have like some Nazi dog whistle content. Like we're not.
A record where he has betrayed those very working class New Yorkers time and again. And ultimately, I am not going to subscribe to a politics where the only people that I can fight for are the ones that I see exactly my whole life in. It has to be a politics where you can fight for every New Yorker, those that you can see yourself in and those that you've never even met, those that you have disagreements with. Because ultimately, leadership is not about remaking a city in your image. It's about remaking this city in the image of every New Yorker who struggles day after day.
You are going to have what looks like a tough race in November. You already have people like billionaire Bill Ackman saying he'll give hundreds of millions of dollars to anybody who runs against you.
I think he also said some nice things about me as well.
What else did he say?
I think he said that I was smart, which I appreciated.
Oh, did he say that?
Thank you, Bill. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. But he also doesn't want you to be mayor of New York City. And there are other corporations, wealthy New Yorkers who feel the same way. And there are some people who fear your candidacy. You have support among some Jewish voters, and you have some Jewish voters who are extremely skeptical of you and afraid of your candidacy.
My job is to lead this entire city. My job is to address those very concerns that New Yorkers may have, be it for whatever basis. And ultimately, this is something that I said on Tuesday night, that wherever there may be disagreements, my commitment is now to reach further, to understand those disagreements, to wrestle with the complexities of those disagreements. And that means taking the time to have meetings with New Yorkers who may be concerned. Maybe it's, a business leader who is worried about the impact of my tax proposals, and I get to share the fact that these are proposals that will make it easier for them to attract and retain talent in the city, that so often the success of a business is based upon its ability for young people to be able to live here and actually raise a family here. If I can speak with a Jewish New Yorker who's concerned about the issue.
Is it the media lying when they say it's a tough race? Yes! They're trying to make it true. The vast, vast majority of people who voted for Cuomo in the primary are voting for Zohran in the general. Especially Cuomo's not going to run because Eric Adams is running. So Eric Adams is going to be all over the type of machine politician, and the machine is going to be all fucked up. Unless they can pressure Eric Adams to get out of the race, the machine's going to be all fucked up because what? You're going to go against the sitting mayor, and then he's going to have to, there's a Republican as well. So how is he going to appeal to Republicans? Like there's no space for Cuomo to consolidate an anti-Zohran block because Eric Adams blocks him with Democratic machine and the Republican blocks him with the fucking racist Republicans. So how the fuck is he going to do anything? Unless everybody else drops out and he could try to do a head-to-head run, in which case the Democratic Party is going to be all fucked up and a lot of people are going to be scared into silence. Didn't you see the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen? Richie Torres is scared into silence because Zohran won his district. He won Zohran won Hakeem Jeffries' district. Zohran won Richie Torres' district. They're scared shitless. That's even before RCV. When RCV hits, it's got to be a fucking mega landslide. There are so many targets that Zohran can help primary. I don't know how much war Zohran wants to fight, but AOC is going to have an unbelievable ally. The left in New York is going to have the most powerful leftists in the country, the most popular politicians in America.
Of anti-Semitism, and I can share the fact that this is a real crisis that we have to tackle, and one that I'm committed to doing so through increased funding for actually preventing hate crimes across the city, an increase in about 800% to do so, and make it clear time and again that my commitment is to protect Jewish New Yorkers and that I will live up to that commitment through my actions. And that's what these next many months are about. It's not simply about winning an election. It's about ensuring that every New Yorker knows that even where they disagree with me, there will always be a shared sense of humanity, and I will always still represent them. Where they feel misunderstood, I will look to understand them. Where they feel hurt, I will look to heal them. And I think that that is at the core where, even Bill Ackman, whomever it is, I want them to stay in the city. I want everyone to stay here. Our point of disagreement is not whether or not they should be here. It's how do we make this a city where everyone can afford to stay.
But what do you say to people who say, Zohran Mamdani wins, I'm leaving this city? Whether it's corporations, wealthy New Yorkers, or New Yorkers who feel like you won't make them more safe.
I have to earn their trust, and I have to sit down with them, and I have to hear their concerns. And though there may still be disagreements at the end of that meeting, I think there are a lot of concerns that are based upon a caricature of myself. And I don't blame New Yorkers for having that caricature, because they've had to deal with more than $30 million of spending that paints me in that manner, that smears and slanders me, that artificially lengthens the color and the length of my beard, that calls me a monster and describes me at the gates. If I was someone who knew nothing about myself and that was the only way that I was introduced to a campaign, I too might have concerns. And that's the exciting opportunity that both this general election and these next few months present, is to live up to the words of another famous New Yorker, to reintroduce myself. And it's an introduction that will showcase my focus on these 5 boroughs, on protecting each and every New Yorker.
Like, they're not, anytime they give him the ability to talk, he's going to flatten their shit. Basically, all that's going to happen with Zohran is if a person is reasonable and convertible, they will be. If they're an ideological extremist, they're going to be enraged and unhinged. Zohran has got this in the fucking bag. He's got this because they have to give him voice now. He's the nominee. And yes, the media, like the Democratic Party, is in shambles. They have Nancy Pelosi's about to die. She's old as fuck. Hakeem Jeffries is a charisma vacuum. Chuck Schumer is hated by everybody. They don't have anyone. What are they going to do? Have Barack Obama come out and call him an anti-Semite? Barack Obama's too much of a narcissist to ever take a fight head on. He's a born coward. If Barack Obama can make secretive phone calls behind the scenes, that'll do. That he will do. But come out right and do anything? No. He's too much of a cowardly bitch. What are they going to do? Drag out Bill Clinton again? Joe Biden? The Alzheimer's wing?
And on delivering them a life that they can afford so that they can do more than just struggle in this city, but actually live out the dreams that brought them here.
You know, the thing that was very clear in the weeks before and the days after the primary was this barrage of racist, anti-Muslim attacks on you, equating you to a terrorist, saying you're a danger to the safety of Americans, especially Jewish Americans. And I'm going to repeat some of the attacks, not because I think they're okay to say, but I want listeners to understand what's being said. And it's not just from the right wing and Republicans in office. It's also from other influential figures. Deborah Messing of Will and Grace posted online that you sided with terrorists and you celebrated 9/11. You were 9 when that happened. Republican Representative Nancy Mace posted a picture of you in your Eid outfit and wrote, "After 9/11, we said never forget. I think we sadly have forgotten." Republican Representative Andy Ogle called you Little Muhammad and said you need to be deported and is calling
By the way, chat, look at the level of direct bigotry coming out of people's mouths, and they try to imply he's anti-Semitic. Look at the blatant Islamophobic racism that comes from mainstream people, and then they try to imply he's racist because he didn't condemn something he never said. Don't give these people a fucking inch! Don't give them a fucking inch. Never pretend for a second that they care about racism or bigotry. Never give them a fucking inch to the fucking Zionist extremists. Don't give them an inch. Not 1 inch. Okay, I think I found what I'm going to TikTok about today, chat. Don't give a single inch to the people that are concerned trolling Zohran. Not 1 inch. Not one.
For your denaturalization, were you prepared for this level of bigotry?
It's unsurprising, and yet it's still deeply saddening. And it's unsurprising because, as many Muslims in this country know, to exist in public life is to have to deal with this kind of slander at a different scale. And it's part of why so many have thought that the safest place to live is in the shadows. And so much of my hope for this campaign was to bring the margins of our city into the mainstream. It's been very difficult to see just how much of this hatred has been normalized. And as you've said, it's not just Republican congresspeople. It's an actress of a show that I used to watch as a kid. And I think that ultimately my responsibility is to show that our vision for this city, it's a vision that is universal. It's a vision that wants to recognize the belonging of each and every New Yorker. And it's in stark contrast to this exclusionary vision that we see from so many. One that seeks to distract people from an inability to take care of working people by designating the enemies as the other. And one of the most difficult parts of this, however, have been that the threats that have been made on my life and on people that I love are ones that fundamentally transform how you can live. And
so it's changed how you can live?
It has. It has. I mean, the amount of people that reach out to me filled with anxiety about my own safety, the fact that I now have to have security at all times, it's a different way of engaging with the world. But my responsibility is to showcase that this is but a drop in the bucket of how people actually feel in this city. You know, just a few days after I received a number of death threats and someone who said that he was going to blow up my car, which was news to me because I don't own a car. But he clearly had a vision for what he would do to me and to my family. I walked the length of Manhattan to speak to New Yorkers, and I did it.
They have nothing. They have absolutely fucking nothing. And what makes Zohran great is that he's got a very good sense of where the people actually are. And I kind of pride myself on being the same kind of left-winger, a guy who's actually gone out and talked to so many fucking people in Pennsylvania, around the country, knocked on the doors. So I know I have a pretty good sense of where people are. That's why I could call this a race so easily and correctly, right? Because I try to be where the masses are. If I was freed from talking to anyone else and it was just in my mind palace, I would be some sort of vanguard revolutionary leftists screaming in the same way as some of the most annoying people on TikTok. But because I leave my bubble, because I go and talk to regular people, I know where they are and how to talk to them. But the thing about Zohran is he's even better and he's even more charismatic. And that's what we've needed. We have needed somebody like this. Somebody who is unapologetically left-wing, but also knows how to speak euphemistically, knows rhetoric, understands his audiences, is intelligent and thoughtful. Like, he's actually the real deal.
Because I think that the way that we defeat this bigotry is by showcasing just how small of a minority it actually represents. And I'm excited by the fact that this election has had meaning not just for those that share my identities, but for those that had lost faith in politics at large. And our vision moving forward is one that speaks to all of them.
Do you think the attacks work, though? That there are people who are now...
Again, liberal tactic 101. I'm not actually saying this, but there's somebody out there that might believe it, right? And so therefore you're invalid because the person who's not in the room, by the way, and I'm inventing, is going to believe it. So we should just assume that people are going to believe it. This is liberal tactic 101 when dealing with leftists. Weasel words, person that's not in the room. You know, the thing that already exists in a million other places is pie in the sky and not politically plausible. Fuck you! Fuck you, liberal! Fuck you! Oh my god, dude. How do people like this shit?
Afraid of you because of your faith?
I think that there are some. I think
that is the most racist question. Holy shit. Holy shit. The question should be, how do we fight against bigotry? How do we convince people that being Muslim is no different than being Jewish or Christian or a non-believer? What a fucking disgusting question.
I think that it's hard not to believe so much of what you're told. And what I've really appreciated, however, is that New Yorkers have still been able to give me a chance when I meet them, no matter what they have heard on a 30-second ad or a mailer in their mailbox. And ultimately, there's still an interest in building a city that can navigate whatever disagreement there may be, but always going back to that shared humanity. And it's a very New York thing. I mean, I think about Mayor Koch, who told New Yorkers, if you agree with me on 9 out of 12 issues, vote for me. 12 out of 12, see a psychiatrist. And I've shared this over the campaign. And there was a kid that came up to me at Washington Square Park. He was like, I agree with 12 out of 12. Send me away. I was like, I appreciate the sentiment, brother. But I think it's the city that I love, the city that I grew up in, where, you know, there are moments when there's a video of two New Yorkers and they're yelling at each other and people will be commenting, are they having an argument? And someone will just say, no, these are just two New Yorkers showing each other love. Mm-hmm. And that's the city that I want to represent. So much about your faith and being Muslim, people are talking about it and talking about you and what kind of Muslim are you and that kind of thing. But I want to ask you, what about your faith? What do you draw on in your faith that informs you as a New Yorker, as a politician, as a person who's trying to become mayor of this city? You know, my grandparents...
God, every fucking question is such dog shit. You know what liberals hate to talk about? Policy and what the evidence says works. That's what they hate. They talk about how they're technocrats and they're practical and they're this and they're that. But you know what they actually hate to talk about? Policies that work. Like, that's what these fucking scumbags don't want to talk about. They don't want to be like, well, China has built 50,000 kilometers of high-speed rail. What can we learn from China? And what differences between our systems prevent that from happening here? And are those problems surmountable? Like, that's an adult level question, right? Like, here is a competitor nation that has delivered this unbelievable outcome. How did they do it? And what should we do differently? And what can we learn? That kind of question will get called, you'll be called like a fucking traitor for just looking at the world and trying to figure things out from the world. This is why the Chinese have a massive advantage over us. This is why the Chinese century is here. Because the one thing that the Chinese have that we don't have is humility. What the Chinese have that we don't have is we can learn from others. Americans refuse to learn from others. China's like, what are the best ideas and how do we bring them here? And they ruthlessly pursue them. That's why they win. And we are the complete opposite. We are like, that idea is foreign. That means you're a cuck. And this is the major problem we have, is how do we convince people to stop being emotional turds and start, I don't know, delivering change that'll make your life better? Jesus fucking Christ.
Yusuf and Kulsum were the ones that taught me about Islam at a young age. And one of the lessons that I always held with me was an understanding that to be a good Muslim, you had to be a good person. Mm-hmm. You had to help those in need and harm no one. And my favorite month of the year is Ramadan. And it's a month that I've loved because as I grew up, it was one where I started to learn what it meant to be in solidarity with people that you never even met. You know, when we were having iftar or we were, Eid, you would not ask who someone was before you passed them a plate of food. You would not ask who someone was before you helped them. It was a month where you saw yourself in others, no matter if you knew their name or not. And so much of that has been at the foundation of my politics, this belief that solidarity has to be at the core of what we do, and that it's not just something that is an ideal, but it's something that has to be practiced. And I think that this is, for me, what it means in many ways to be the first Muslim mayor, is to live up to those same ideals and to take care of this entire city. And, it was my grandmother who told me at a young age that one of the ways to follow the example of the Prophet was to smile. And that's something that she told me I should do each and every day. And I think I share that because oftentimes when we discuss religion, it's discussed in a very specific way. Mm-hmm. And yet for me, it has always been in these kinds of stories that have been imparted upon me.
Really quick, on the attacks that you've been receiving, do you feel like you've gotten enough defense from your party? I've
appreciated a number of leaders across our party and the country who've spoken up about this very clear anti-Muslim bigotry and this Islamophobia. And it's meant the world to me to see senators, congresspeople who I have never met, who I have never spoken to, being willing to stand up and call this what it is. Because ultimately, there is an attempt to redefine this country as if it is beyond the reach of so many who are proud to call themselves Americans.
Your campaign started with 2 employees, you said, and you grew to 50,000 volunteers. You talked about the 1% name recognition that you had. You were an assemblyman, but do you have the experience to run a city government, arguably one of the most, if not the most powerful city in this country?
I believe that I do, and I believe that New Yorkers have made their decision as to what kind of experience matters in this moment. They had a choice between 2 politicians, one of whom had the experience of leading the state that also came with the experience of resigning in disgrace and cutting Medicaid and stealing hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA and hounding the more than 12 women who had credibly accused him of sexual harassment.
This is why I love him. This is why he's him. He's him. He's him. He's him. He's him. He's him. This is what I've needed. He actually lands punches. He's not a pussy. He actually lands punches. He's not a fucking pussy. He's not Corbyn. He's not Bernie. He's not going, I don't care about your emails. And oh, let me show you the sweater my mom knit. He's stabbing him in the fucking heart. For the love of God, we finally did it. We finally have someone who's not a bitch.
And they chose the experience of myself, an assembly member who won $500 million in debt relief for the very taxi drivers who had been sold a promise by the city of a ticket to the middle class and then had that promise pulled out from under them, of someone who has taken on the 8th largest carbon emitter in the country and defeated a proposal for a frack gas power plant. And ultimately, what I tell New Yorkers is that A campaign is a glimpse of the way in which you would run a city. And in this campaign, we have shown ourselves able to meet the moment every single day. And that means scaling up an operation from those 2 full-time employees to one that now manages over 52,000 volunteers. But also, it's a twin understanding of the fact that ultimately I am responsible at the end of the day for the work of this campaign, and that the way that we will execute our vision is by empowering a team of the best and the brightest. We won this campaign thanks to the incredible work done by people around me who set up this apparatus that could not only inspire New Yorkers, but absorb that inspiration and build a new kind of politics. And the way that I will run our city will be by building a similar team that is united not by ideology, not by how long they've known me, but by a track record of excellence and an ability to execute on this agenda that we saw more than 400,000 New Yorkers vote for in the very places that we had been told we had lost the Republican Party for years.
Zohran Mamdani, presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor in New York City. Thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
He's so fucking cool, dude. He's so fucking cool, dude. I honestly don't know a socialist who landed this well since Fred Hampton. I want you to understand this. I love Fred Hampton. The Black Panther Party did not win mayor of New York City. This is the biggest electoral. If he wins, this will be the biggest electoral victory for socialists in American history. The only thing that can even compare, I guess, is Bernie Sanders runner-ups or Bernie Sanders Senate run, but that's Vermont. There's like 700,000 people in Vermont. This will be the biggest socialist electoral victory in American history. It'll be bigger than sewer socialism, which was, so socialists ruled Milwaukee for 30 years. He uses the ultimately a lot. I say, everybody who speaks a lot has, if you're a professional talker, instead of saying and you will add different filler words. I do it as well. I'll say stuff like, it is what it is. Hassan uses anyways, yeah. So ultimately, you're just gonna have to get used to him saying ultimately a bit much. If you're watching every single stump speech he does, holy shit.
Hey guys, it's Lauren Egan here at The Bulwark. I have Democratic strategist Rebecca Katz here with me today.
All right, I need to, honestly, chat, I need to start getting these people. If you know people in the Zohran campaign, I want to start getting them on my streams. It's something that we need to do. I'm also really trying to figure out what I can do for... There's an open seat in Philadelphia. Am I ever going to run again? I probably can't do it for the time being. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I probably need to get, if I got 10 times bigger than I am now, then I could do it. 5 times bigger than I am now. Unfortunately, my problem is that you have to get in the sweet spot of having enough strong support to offset the ideological enemies you've already made. And I have somebody in the, I have people that I think should run already. David Dinkins was a DSA mayor. The reason I like Zohran, is he actually studies the history of New York City. He actually is interested in the successes and the failures of the past. He's actually somebody who reads and studies. He knows what sewer socialism is. And so he's going to learn the lessons. Hochul getting attacked from the left of the primaries. Guys, we are about to see the dark woke. The era of dark woke is upon us. The pussy rad lib woke is gone. Dark woke, Shiv woke is here. It's my time to shine. Zohran cannot deliver bold change alone. He needs a governor who's ready and willing to work with him. Governor Hochul refuses to tax the ultra wealthy or big corporations to achieve affordability for all. If you want change in NYC, we need change in Albany. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my political predictions coming true. If you go watch my debates with Sam Cedar in 2020, or you watch my Sam Cedar debate in 2024, exactly what I said would happen, And now it's happening in the other way. My main concern with Joe Biden winning is that it would turn the party to the right, and it did. My main concern with Kamala Harris was that if she won, it would teach people that you could ignore the genocide, that you could do bullshit fucking like identity politics appeals to trick people into voting for pure evil. Delgado is a bit conservative, not much different than Hochul, but this is him angling. No, it isn't that I think he's one of us. He's not. He's an opportunist. But when the opportunists are leaning in your direction, it means you're gonna win. It's about the vibe shift. It's hard to attack you as pie in the sky if a bunch of people are agreeing with you. Somebody who knows just DM'd me and said it'll be 1 week before we get the precinct by precinct results. I'm gonna make so much propaganda about Zohran's win. It's going to be amazing. Can I recommend you reach out directly to that guy over Twitter to see to get that started with Zohran? I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, all right, chat. Wow, I'm so fucking hype. I'm so fucking hype. There's so much Zohran content.
I thought Mamdani was Italian. Mamdani, that's an Italian name. I've got a cousin.
Wait a minute. No. I think I stole this. Did someone steal my joke, or did I steal the joke? Did I steal this joke? I don't even know.
Cousin named Giovanni Mam. I thought Mamdani was Italian. Mamdani, that's an Italian name. I've got a cousin named Giovanni Mamdani. This guy has to be Italian. His parents are immigrants. He was raised in New York. His mom works in the movies. This guy's a fucking Scorsese. Did I see a picture of him? Yeah, I just thought he was Sicilian.
Fuck, that's a good joke. Fuck, that's good.
I just thought he was Sicilian.
Chat, can we just sit here and be happy for a minute? Can I just say, I know I'm patting myself. Oh, fuck, we have a hype train chat. We are 3 hours into the stream. We might as well chill. If you've enjoyed me being exactly right, I called it, chat. I called it perfectly. Yesterday, I told you exactly how much he was going to win by, and I was perfectly correct. I was perfectly correct. Like, look at this. Because you think it's good now. Wait till tomorrow when he gets 56% of the vote. If you enjoy this type of content, if you think that people that actually know what they're talking about, but also have the balls to make real predictions and not just hedge the entire time, the reason why I make firm predictions is this. I want to sharpen my thinking. The reason why I make firm predictions is not to get attention. It's to sharpen my thinking. I want you to know exactly what I'm thinking and when I get it right, that's support for what I'm saying prior to the prediction, making sense and being correct. When I get it wrong, then we can go over my assumptions, my predictions, what information we got wrong, so that we know how to improve our thinking. The reason why other people don't make predictions is because they don't believe in anything and they don't have a model and they're not trying to prove anything. They're just trying to get attention. So that's why I make my firm predictions. That's why I said Kamala Harris is going to lose, badly. It's why I said that Zohran is going to win comfortably on the backs of, and I told you exactly what my mental model was. He's going to win on the backs of Gen Z and millennials because they're finally showing up. They're finally exercising their power. And that's what happened. So I gave you my model. I gave you my analysis so that we could check it. It's a scientific way of thinking about politics. And that's actually what Marxism is. Marxism is scientific socialism. This is an under-discussed element of politics. But what separates Marxism from earlier forms of Marxism is that it's scientific socialism. It's based on making predictions and analyzing reality and trying to determine and come up with theories that explain the world accurately. That is what sets it apart from utopic forms of socialism that came prior. So I want to bring that kind of energy back. Actual political economy, actual political science. How is scientific socialism different than democratic socialism? Democratic socialism just refers to the idea that you're going to deliver change through democratic means. Open presence with another 100. Chat, do not make open presence do all the support. Open presence has been incredibly generous. Don't you dare think you could slack off. If you can afford your sub, pay for your own sub. Make sure that I want the subs to go to the people that are working paycheck to paycheck. Parents of young children, college students, people out of fixed income because of retirement or disability, or just regular people that are struggling to make ends meet. If you're broke, I want you to get the subs. If you're not broke and you know who you are, don't absorb the free subs. Pay for your own subs so that the gifted subs go to the people that we want it, that need it, and we want it, because we want those fucking emotes to spread site-wide. I primed Yogopnik this month, but next month for you. Thank you, buddy. This is the most honest appeal for subs I've ever heard. I mean, here's the reality. We are in an unprecedented opportunity. An unprecedented opportunity. And I want you guys to join with me so that we do real politics. We've been waiting for this moment. We've been waiting for the pendulum. The pendulum is here. It's swinging. Now is the time. There's an open seat in Philadelphia. We need to win that for DSA. We have so many scumbags in LA. We need to get them primaried. We have 3 to 6 months to get ourselves a slate of real left-wingers. Not Andy Bashir, not fucking dumb, big Gretch, but actual Zohran-like politicians around the country. Now is the time. We've made it. We went through a lot of hard times after Bernie Sanders lost. We ate a lot of shit with terrible Joe Biden, but now is the time. We are here. We all have a duty to work our fucking asses off. Get involved. We're going to do it. What do you think about Run for Something? They suck shit. Fuck Run for Something. They suck. We need to do our own shit. We need to stop relying on dumb liberal institutions that are there to fucking capture you and make you Zionist and make you scared. We need to build our own DSA candidate. Zohran won because he's a DSA candidate. He wasn't a stupid lib. Fuck Run for Something. Fuck all these shit fucking groups. Now, if you already are a DSA candidate and you want to try to get these things in addition, fine. But let's be honest. There's a civil war going on in the Democratic Party, and we need to join the front lines. It'll never, ever, ever. It could be decades before we get a chance this good again. You are living in the ultimate time. You are going to determine the course of the world. This is not exaggeration. We are facing unbelievable challenges in the world. Whether or not we fight a Cold War with China, whether or not we allow climate change to devastate our world and biodiversity, whether we build sustainable green cities that include everyone, whether we are a nation that welcomes difference, welcomes immigrants, welcomes people with diverse backgrounds and religions and sexualities, you have the chance to grab the wheel. This is the time. This is it. It'll never get better than now. You'll never have a better chance than right fucking now. This is not a time for compromise. This is a time for ambition. This is a time for ambition and belief. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this moment where I could turn to you and say, now is the time. And it's here. It's absolutely here.
All right, y'all, welcome to the show. So, in just a second.
This is the worst audio I've ever seen. This audio is so bad. What the fuck, Kyle? You've been doing this for like 20 years at this point. How is your audio this bad? All right, be right back. I gotta pee.
We have a whole bunch of stuff for you. So I'm gonna lead with this awesome CNN segment from Harry Enton, basically describing how the Democratic base is fed up. They've had enough. And they're out for blood when it comes to Democratic leadership. So a lot to say about that. Then we'll get to the meathead Chris Cuomo. His hate boner for AOC is absolutely out of control. We'll dive into that. We also have Joy Reid, former MSNBC host, running circles around the warmonger hacks at CNN. That is, I mean, she may have been hiding her power level because, man, she knows how to throw down when she has to. Then we'll talk about a Canadian citizen has died in ICE Gestapo custody. They are not the only one. There's also many others who've died in ICE Gestapo custody. There's a lot to say about that. I mean, the depravity of this regime is just off the charts. Then I have a ruthless takedown for you guys of MAGA. It's a video on TikTok that went viral that I want to share with you. And we also have a really heartbreaking story and some massive backlash as Trump has, of course, destroyed cancer research in this country, along with the robber baron Elon Musk. So you guys know the drill. Everybody please subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. I would deeply, deeply appreciate that. Remember, guys, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. So all of you guys who fund this show on Patreon, you guys make it work. $2 a month goes a long way. $5 a month goes a really long way. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you do support the show, and go subscribe to Corin's World, the YouTube channel as well. We haven't missed a week yet with Kyle and Corin, but I'm on vacation now, and we don't have Wi-Fi. I'm recording this with the data in my phone, so I don't know if we're going to be able to do one this week, but we had quite a streak there of not missing Kyle and Corin. Hopefully that can continue, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But go subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel. Hook a brother up with a subscription. All right, guys, let's get it started. So this says it all about how weak the Democratic establishment is at this moment. Watch this from Harry Enten. This breakdown by the numbers when it comes to Zohran's win is astonishing. Let's watch.
Let me tell you, this was a political earthquake that should have the Democratic establishment running scared. What are we talking about here? Well, New York City primary upsets like Mamdani's. This is truly one for the record books. There are really only two that I could think of that are anything like this. And that's back in '89 for mayor when David Dinkins won over third to three-term mayor Ed Koch. Koch was running for a fourth term. The voters said, there was big turnout then, just like there was big turnout last night. And of course, more recently, if you want to take a look at a national picture, think back to 2018, New York's 14th Democratic primary going for Congress when AOC beat House Dem Caucus Chair Joe Crowley. This, to me, is very much like that. Energizing young voters, energizing voters on the left, and providing what truly was a historic night last night in Democratic circles.
And, you know, look, on paper, this is a mayor's race. This is also New York City, special city. But is this more a New York City thing, or is this more of a sign of a larger national trend when it comes to the Democratic Party?
Yeah, just like AOC's victory in 2018, this did happen locally, but I think you can take it up nationally. What are we talking about here? Well, you know, you think about Democratic establishment, you think about Democratic Party leaders, pretty much all of them were behind Andrew Cuomo, but the bottom line is the Democratic base is fed up, done with the Democratic establishment. This is true in New York, it's true nationally. Democrats who say their party leaders should be replaced. Look at
only 24% of Democratic voters.
By the way, chat, This is the real neoliberal base. No more than 10% if we're being generous.
Support the current party leadership.
BE cooking Destiny, a new video? Oh, wait, what?
I keep posting stuff that just encapsulates.
Oh, boy. Okay, we're going to watch that. I can't turn away from Bad Empanada. Bad Empanada. This is a Bad Empanada support stream. We uncritically support Bad Empanada, okay? So we will be watching that, but let's finish this. We are the Bad Empanada support stream. If you hate Bad Empanada, I hate you. Okay? If you're like, well, he's if any part of that is entering your mind, where you're like, well, Mike, he's like kind of meh. I hate you. Keep it to yourself.
24%. That's unheard of. To put that in perspective for you, in 20 that supported current Democratic leadership. We've never seen anything like this before.
This is a recent poll from Reuters Ipsos. 62% of Democrats nationally say their party leaders should be replaced. Party leaders like Andrew Cuomo, party leaders like Jim Clyburn, who, of course, endorsed Andrew Cuomo. You think about all the Democrats that were behind Andrew Cuomo in the establishment. The Democratic base is fed up with them. And the bottom line is...
I had a debate or conversation with BE. Gosh. I haven't had him on my stream, I don't think. We've definitely talked. I don't think he's been on my stream. I'd have to remember. I'll message him. That would be a fucking banger stream.
Is nationally, the vast majority of Democrats think that their party leaders should...
The reason why is because he's banned on Twitch. Maybe I could do like a YouTube stream. I've been thinking about dual streaming to YouTube and maybe TikTok as well. I think I should definitely do that. But I have to like set it all up. He's banned. I don't even remember why he's banned on Twitch. Honestly, he should get unbanned. Never gonna happen. Why? What do you mean? I do all sorts of shit. I said I'm gonna start making more TikToks than I did. I've literally made like 9 of them in the past like 3 weeks. I said I was gonna start posting more on YouTube, and I have. Like, I've literally been keeping my promises. Slowly but surely. I've been saying I want to do that for years, but now I'm actually doing it. Also, I actually made quite a lot of progress on the studio.
Should be replaced.
Weekend stream, I did a stream on Sunday. We watched a documentary about the genocide in Sri Lanka. Promises made, promises kept. Did I shill yet? No. I honestly feel underappreciated. I feel unappreciated. Only 538 subs today. Fucked up.
But it's more than this, right? Of course, Mamdani ran a pretty far left campaign, right, compared to what we normally see in Democratic circles. But the bottom line is, you talked to me 20, 30 years ago, there was no way I thought a Democratic socialist could win a nomination for mayor in New York or nationally. But look, Democrats who identify as liberal nationally, in 1994 is 25%. You go to 2004, 33%, 2014, 43%. Now the majority...
And by the way, chat, I want you to understand something. This is called politics. See, a bunch of people came out and they made arguments, and a bunch of people said, you know what? I like that idea. And they changed their fucking mind. And new generations were born that weren't programmed with Red Scare propaganda. And they changed their mind. It's almost like politics is not just chasing a fucking opinion poll like a dog. It's about being a leader.
Democrats nationally identify as liberal.
So let me just explain this a little bit for people because the terms are a little confusing. When mainstream media says, oh, this person is very liberal, what they're trying to say is that person is a leftist. They don't have the same sort of definitions that we use in, you know.
By the way, if somebody says liberal, it doesn't mean anything. It actually doesn't mean anything. It actually doesn't mean anything. Really, it doesn't. The most popular politicians with self-described moderates is Bernard Sanders. This actually means fucking nothing. People have no idea what politics are. They have no idea what ideology is. The fact that people are even using this shit is actually invalid.
More in new media and more with, you know, political junkies who eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff 24/7. When they say, oh, this candidate is very liberal, that's them saying the person's a democratic socialist or the person's a leftist, right? And so that's how a lot of people interpret it with the polling too, is that in 1994, only 25% of Democrats calling themselves liberal. That is the third wayification of Democratic politics. That's the Bill Clintonification of Democratic politics. Oh, we're going to split the difference. We're going to be above the fray Democrats. We're going to triangulate. We're going to be new Democrats, which means we're half Republican. So back then, that's where even the base was. Now, the base is moving further and further and further and further left because he just said, oh, I can't believe a Democratic Socialist won. Well, yeah, but think about what led to that. What led to that was the Republicans going full fascist, and then to counter that, Democratic voters are going further and further to the left because they see how insane Trump's fascism is. So that's a big deal. The Democratic base has been radicalized in the best.
Oh my God. If you were President Xi and you were trying to design policies that would permanently weaken America, you would follow what the Republican budget just enacted. The Chinese century is upon us. The U.S. government is aiming to get rid of 250,000 people involved in science research and education by 2026. If you were trying to destroy America, you would pass the Republican budget. What do you think is going to be America's Sputnik moment? Are we going to have another Sputnik moment? Is it when the Chinese have a permanent base on Mars? Or the Chinese are flying like supersonic jets around the world? Or when they have 100% carbon-free energy? When they ignite their first, their very first fusion energy reactor? Why are you showing me names of people that I dated in 6 years ago? All right, the last Bong Lord research. We're doing some, everybody, the last Bong Lord. We're going to find out more. Hold on, oh, Valheim, huh? I think we got some clips, huh? Oh, no? You didn't keep any? Better band? What is this?
I'm the Bong Lord.
Do you think this is it? I think this might be the guy, right? He's wearing glasses. He's wearing glasses with his balaclava.
No, I'm the Bong Lord. New challenger. Get ready for the next battle.
No women were involved in the making of this video. This is hilarious. I'm dying. Me too. I just saw your content. Holy shit, man. What do you think, man? We gotta keep this guy around. We gotta keep this guy around. Holy shit, that's amazing. I think being a fan of Asmongold. So tell me more about yourself, Bong Lord. What are you doing for a living? What are you doing? How's your life going? Did you ever get that degree? Your mom wanted me. Your mom wanted me to ask you. if you ever got that degree. I mean, I guess she should just go upstairs. She could just go down in the basement, but it smells down there. She doesn't want to go down. So she wanted me to ask if you're really working on that. Do you think weed should be banned? Because you're supporting a guy who's trying to do that. I remember when the last bong lord, like a guy named the last bong lord, would be cool. And you have the most sip following list I've ever seen in my life.
Best sense of the word, where they say,
well, the funny thing about these guys is they think that I'm like a nice guy or something. Did I ever say I was nice? You must have been confused me with a liberal. You may have confused socialists with liberals.
don't compromise, don't negotiate, don't do bipartisanship. You just have to defeat these people and fight for a totally different political program. Talk about class war. Talk about working class solidarity. Talk about the 1% versus the 99%. Talk about billionaires being the problem, the corruption being the problem, right? This is the default perspective of the Democratic base when that didn't used to be the case.
You go to 2004, 33%, 2014, 43%. Now the majority of Democrats.
Thoughts on the CJ and Christian drama on TikTok? I really like both creators. However, if you look at Zohran and you say anything other than fuck yes, you're wrong. You're just wrong. I love both creators, but if you look at what Zohran did and you do anything but say fuck yes based, you're dead wrong. And your political analysis is immature. I don't care if you're 19 or 90. If you look at Zohran's election and you're not grinning ear to ear as he defends globalize the intifada in the face of amazing pressure, when he goes up there and says, I only believe in an Israel that has equal rights, which is the one state solution answer. It's just an answer that regular people who aren't up on politics would understand as objectively right. It's just taking our beliefs and arguing in a persuasive way. If you can't look at that and realize it's going to open up more space for the left, you're dead fucking wrong. And if you want to be like, hey, look, these are bourgeois elections, that's right. But read your Lenin. Read your Lenin. Marxism and reformism. Lenin says, as long as you don't adopt the reformist mentality that reform is the only way, that's reformism. Reformism isn't taking reforms that you can get. It's recognizing that if you leave the system in place, reforms will be rolled back. So when we get the chance to enact reforms, we use them to increase class consciousness and increase the ability of us to fight back on class-based lines. It doesn't mean don't fight for anything. You have to be hyper pragmatic. If you look at the revolutions that have succeeded, whether Mao or Lenin, they were hyper pragmatic. You need to adopt pragmatism as your guide, not I have a book. The books are basic. They don't actually fight the revolution for you. If you read a book and you go, oh, this book has convinced me we need a vanguard of professional revolutionaries, you haven't learned shit unless you're out there doing revolutionary acts. All you have is a book until you are doing revolutionary acts. Now, if you're posting on social media and doing revolutionary acts, that's cross purposes because you're kind of going to get targeted by security of the state. So I don't want to hear the idea that socialists winning elections, even democratic socialists, even social democrats, is going to hurt the left is belied by the facts. The biggest growth for socialist organizations of all stripes was Bernie Sanders and AOC's electoral wins. And if you are not open to that empirical reality, then you're not actually engaged in politics. You're engaged in a book club. You're engaged in lifestyleism. I am not a leftist because of lifestyleism. I'm a leftist because I want to enact change to society. That is why I do this. And I don't care if somebody calls me a fucking tanky or they call me a liberal. I take the tanky label willingly. Call me a tanky all you want. I don't give a fuck. And I want to avoid punching left. But I also don't think undermining and infighting is useful. If you're going to do that, if you don't like Zohran and you don't think he's going to matter, shut the fuck up. Post about something else. But ultimately, I really don't want to attack comrades. And I think when a lot of people turn into a certain type of shell of themselves when they feel like they're under attack. So I'm going to reach out with solidarity and friendship towards people that have bad takes on Zohran. Like, I know where their bad takes come from.
Democrats nationally identify as liberal. If there are Democratic establishment folks who think this is just going to be contained in New York, I say this is a warning sign to you. It very much may not be.
Ooh, so they're saying, oh, you think this is a one-off with Mamdani winning? And look, to be fair, in some ways, in Trump's first term, when he had like the midterms in 2018, it was a bit of a one-off. Like, I was a co-founder of Justice Democrats with a bunch of others, and we wanted to do what was effectively a left-wing Tea Party of the Democratic establishment. But clearly the party...
The problem was Justice Democrats is too top-down and DC-based. DSA is by far and away the best organization for socialism in America right now, just because of one very important thing. It's called numbers and geographical diversity.
Wasn't ready for it yet. The voters were not ready for it yet. And what we're seeing is now they are. So you had AOC.
Open presence with another 100 bomb. This is crazy, bro. This is crazy. I'm running out of space. I'm running out of space. Holy shit. 700 subs this week. My God. I'm closing in on my all-time high. I'm at 10,908, chat. 10,908. Look at this. That's fucking crazy. 10,908 paid members. Holy shit. Chat, I want to show you something that made me laugh so fucking hard. Ethan Klein is totally cooked. Ethan Klein is totally cooked. This is monthly gain views of Hasanabi's YouTube versus Ethan Klein's H3 podcast. This is Ethan Klein. June 2025 was Ethan Klein's worst month since he started the podcast. And it was Hassan's best month. And not only was it Hassan's best month was 7 million more views than Ethan Klein's best month. In other words, Hassan is so far ahead of Ethan Klein that Ethan Klein's peak is 7 million views behind Hassan's peak, which is just so happens to be the views that he got this entire month. If you subtracted Ethan Klein's views from Hassan's views, Hassan would have the same views as Ethan Klein's best ever month. He's falling off. Ethan Klein has exposing himself as a Zionist freak, a litigious loser. He has tossed to the side every single thing that he supposedly stood for. Fair use, freedom of speech, progressivism, Palestine, all those arguments he used to make, he has completely and totally thrown to the wolves. And all he has left are Sam Hyde and Destiny orbiters. My God. He destroyed himself to appeal to Dan Saltzman and Destiny. There's real news that you're talking about H3. Nobody cares about streamer Java. Also, Ethan is on vacation and not streaming. Ethan doesn't know shit about politics. His heart is in the right place. Bro, you need to unfollow Ethan Klein. I don't know if Ethan Klein has ever taken vacations before since he started his podcast, but the fact is Ethan Klein has the worst views he's ever had. And you know what? Since you brought up the vacation, I want to debunk that as a source of his low views. He missed 2 or 3 streams. But even if you add in those 2 or 3 streams, his viewership is dog shit. And why am I bringing up H3? Because he's suing my friends. The last thing he did before he left on vacation was sue my friends, you fucking bitch. So we're going to laugh at this fucking loser. And look at this. You laugh, you eat. 500,000 views. Pathetic. Pathetic. I'm suing Frogan's Casey Tron Denims. Only 573,000 views. That is dog shit. If you scroll back, let's go a year ago. Let's go 1 year ago. 1 year ago, 956,000 views. Cody Co exposed. The craziest ex-boyfriend story. Bougie Meltdown. Or Boogie 19 or whatever his fucking name is. 1 million views. I mean, he's down 50% of the views. Like, these are all hitting 1 million. Every single one is hitting 1 million. Every one. 900, 800, 1.2, 1.4, 1.7. The Wicked Lollipops. Here's him attacking Vosh. 1 million views. Vosh, no more horsing around. 1.4 million. 1.2 million. Anti-Vosh video. I mean, he is falling the fuck off, man. It's just reality. You can say vacation all you want, but he's falling the fuck off. And why did I take this moment? Because it's funny. That's why. It's fucking funny.
He beat Joe Crowley, which was a political earthquake, but you know, it was our wins were more limited than one might think, right? Like maybe 7, 8, 9 different Justice Democrats end up getting in there. But now what Harry Enton is saying is, oh, this Zohran thing, this might happen all across the country. Left-wing challengers to establishment Democrats might end up toppling these people all around the country.
See a lot of eyeballs on this race, including what happens next, because now he's just got to match up with
The reason why we need to run a lot of people at once is because if you only run a couple people, then they can focus their energy on trashing those people. But if you run a whole panoply of people, they have to spread out. As an insurgent, we could do a lot of low-cost attempts all over the country, and they're forced to spread out. If you only focus on a couple races, you actually make it easier for the defenders. We need to flood the zone. We need to flood everywhere. And then we pick up wins. We pick up wins. And then we flood the zone, and we pick up wins, and we flood the zone, and we pick up wins, and we flood the zone. That's how you do it.
Independent incumbent in Mayor Eric Adams.
I'm very much looking forward to this matchup. It could be another one for the books.
More numbers for you to dig into.
Okay, so he's not done. He also does one more here. Ready? Watch.
What should they take away is that the party leaders, Democrats who say they want to replace their party leaders, look at this, 62% nationally say yes compared to just 24% who say no. That lines up with the idea that Democrats view their own members of Congress, their own leaders in Congress, record low approval rating. Democrats right now are out for blood. They want to take out their party.
The moment is here. The moment we've been waiting for is here. This is the hinge point. Zohran Mamdani has made it clear as day. It's skywriting. It's time to get off your fucking ass. It's time for you to stop dooming and start booming. And remember what I was saying. Remember what I was saying when the vibes were at the low point. You remember what I was saying. Was I down in the dumps? I said doomerism is the last stage of your liberalism, and it's happening. Do you think Dem Socks should avoid running on the Dem ticket? My personal opinion is I hate the Democratic Party, and it's a dog shit party. It's not even a real party. There's advantages for winning. So if you could win the primary, win the primary. You know, it is what it is. Unless there is a bunch of national political leaders that are ready to start a new party, then it won't work. So is it possible to start a new party and run and babadi? I don't know. I tend to think that attempts to make third parties without national political figures have always failed. So, and when you look at our history, parties that did include national or regional political leaders did succeed. So that's the kind of cutoff. Do you have real political, do you have real politicians that want to start the party? If so, it'll work. If not, it won't. Unless there's such a groundswell. So that's my analysis. It's unsatisfying, but it is what it is.
Leaders, and you saw that with Andrew Cuomo going, adios amigos, goodbye, see you later in New York this past Tuesday.
I love that quote. He says, Democrats are out for blood. The Democratic base is going, we're done. Clearly you can hear that thunder. Well, I guess I'm doing the show. I definitely couldn't be golfing today.
How do I help the cause more as a disabled student with little mobility and ability to organize a protest? Huh? I'm going to tell you something that will probably change your life for the better. Some of the best political organizers I've ever met were confined to wheelchairs, or quadriplegic, or suffering from late-stage Lou Gehrig's disease. The disability rights advocacy, socialist advocacy is open to you. Whether or not you can show up in person or not, there are online opportunities. There is community to be found. I am legitimately jealous of New York City DSA. I wish these Twitch streamers were out in fucking New York. And I like winter. You get to layer up.
That's for sure. So we're doing the show. But Democrats are out for blood, meaning the leaders are not safe. The establishment is not safe. If you're not hammering home the notes that Democrats want to hear, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. So, for example, we talked about this yesterday, but only 21% of Democratic voters now have a positive view of Israel. 21%. That's a historic low. That means the base is simply pro-Palestine. The base is seeing the genocide and they're going, that's bad, that's wrong, we need to stop that, and our elected leaders need to talk about that. right? They're done with bipartisanship and negotiation and compromise and holding hands and singing Kumbaya. They want crusaders and fighters who are going to take no bullshit and basically mirror Trumpism, but on the other side, where we're the crusaders now. We're the powerful ones now. We're the ones who don't back down. We're the ones who are a bull in a china shop. And I think that's like, we finally have our moment. We finally have, the left-wing base is finally having its moment where I don't think, like, think about it like this. When we have the next Democratic primary in 2028, they're not going to be able to hold back the wave of left-wing energy. I don't like, they were able to do it with their trickery and deceit when it came to 2016. They were able to do it by, at the last minute, dropping out and rallying around Biden in 2020 to defeat Bernie because it looked like Bernie was going to win. They don't have the pull anymore. They don't have the sway anymore. They don't have the trust anymore of the Democratic base. So, like, explicitly, if corporate media or establishment Democrats say, we want this candidate, we want Alyssa Slotkin, that will be a strike against that candidate and make them less likely to win.
Exactly. So, that is what we need to do, chat. That is the world we need to create, where when people are pro-Zionism and pro-Israel, it's a black stain on the record. It'll be like fucking seen as being anti-gay in the Democratic Party. It should destroy your reputation forever to be a supporter of Israel.
So be ready, y'all. Be ready. The moment's here, and it's only getting stronger. Hey, y'all.
It literally sounds like you last month, never wrong, just early. I mean, I've been wrong before. I think I understand politics better than almost any other political analyst. And I don't say that because I'm an egomaniac, although I am. It's because I watch a lot of other people and they're wrong more than me. I don't know. Maybe I'm not being objective. But I've made mistakes. Like, I didn't see John Fetterman's stroke coming. I didn't see the brain damage of John Fetterman coming. I would say John Fetterman is my biggest L. Mike, if you only include Hassan's main channel, Hassanabi Productions, and Hassan Reactions, it's nearing 45 million views this month. With all the industrial complex channels, it's nearing 100 million. Now think about TikTok. Now think about Instagram Reels. Now think about all the other places Hassan content is being spontaneously created. That's why I'm deciding to go on more platforms, because we gotta ride this rocket ship, baby. Woo! What's your opinion on joining your local DNC org and taking it over? They will absolutely gut it when you do. So as long as you expect that, you move to LA when PA needs you the most, shame. Nah. No place needs me more than any other place. That's just not true. That's not true. In fact, I honestly think Pennsylvania is like, after New York City, is like the best place with DSA. Like, they have done the best. They probably need me the least. If any place needs me, it's probably LA, if I'm being honest. Open Presents, thank you for the 100 gifties. You are the best. Open Presents, Mad Lad, the 747. The 747 gifts of the day has brought us to 11,011 sub points. 11,011. And in recognition of that, I would like to thank Ethan Klein.
Mike from PA.
I would like to thank Ethan Klein in my favorite video.
Mike from PA, to me, is a full-on grifter. One day I'm going to do a video on this guy. He is the most pathetic dipshit on all of Twitch.
He's going to knock me out, guys. PewDiePie didn't. Asmongold didn't. Destiny didn't with 6 years going on 7. But Ethan Klein's falling off ass. He's the one who's going to do it, man. He's the one who's going to take me out.
And just to show you how easy this grift is, this guy is like relatively successful, and he is like not talented. He is vile, and he is cringe as fuck. What's his average view count?
Probably like a couple K.
Couple K.
Does he really get a couple K?
Nice. And somehow he still succeeded. You know, he has 7,000 members or something. Every time I see that number, I'm like, whoa. I'm happy to say that his sub count is getting lower.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's closer to 8,000 before. I mean, every time I look, he has between 7,000 and 8,000 paying members, which is pretty disturbing, but it is what it is.
Like, I gotta be honest, I don't even notice when Ethan Klein talks about me. I legitimately don't notice. Somebody has to tell me.
Mike from PA. 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 PA. Mike from PA. Mike from PA. Mike from PA. Mike from PA.
Mike from PA.
Mike from PA. Mike from PA. Mike from PA. Mike from PA.
Mike from PA.
Mike from PA. Mike from.
Oh man, this is my favorite video from the Clips from PA Industrial Complex. So fucking good, dude. Honestly, you guys should all be following Clips from PA. They're really good at stream highlights. Chronically underappreciated. What's the top video they did? In 2022, China's making... Oh, it was just me talking about China. It was during the wildfires. Something to keep in mind. All right. Since we're in the last, hour and a half of the stream, I want to watch Bad Empanada. Oh my God. I love him so much.
Zionist argumentation. I'm gonna have to make a main channel video of all of the examples of like horrible, pathetic Zionist argumentation. Honestly, just to mock them because there's not really much value. People know about this stuff now. But a man who is currently on trial for numerous...
Didn't one of Ethan's... Yes, AB tried to say he didn't know who I was, by the way. AB, when I called AB out for being a pathetic worm, he tried to be like, I don't know who Mike... I don't know who Mike is. And a bunch of people yelled at me. By the way, chat, remember how everyone yelled at me for calling out AB? And then a week later, they all agreed with me? So they spent a week trashing me. And then they were like, oh yeah, Mike. They didn't even say Mike was right. They just said, oh, I've lost faith in AB. Didn't even apologize. Isn't that crazy?
Serious sexual offenses. Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II, or is it the third? It's one of those. Better known as Destiny.
It's the second because he's a junior. He's a junior. So he says the second instead of saying junior because he's too much of a... Because he's a Napoleonic complex fucking tiny guy, he's afraid to be called junior. So he calls himself the second. Just call him junior.
A post on the Twitter platform in which he voluntarily chose to post what he seems to believe is like a highlight of his stream. Like something worth bragging about, something worth sharing with people. And I want to show you this incredible video that he posted. It really just speaks for itself. You talk about things that are factually happening, that Zionists are factually doing, and the Zionist argument against that is, no. How dare you say that? That's anti-Semitic. Just watch this. Just fucking watch this. It's unbelievable.
This was a CIA Mossad op. And it's a fake humanitarian agency. And what they do is...
Nice editing, dude.
They lure Palestinians from all over Gaza to come to a specific area in Gaza and say, hey, we're promising you food, we're promising you medicine. Then they show up, and in many instances, the IDF opens fire and murders them.
What platform is this? Is this Twitter? Destiny's trying to say that... Wait. The guy who said it would be... Destiny is probably the dumbest piece of shit in politics. He's kind of the Matthew Iglesias of Gen Z, where he's just cartoonishly stupid. Everyone dunks on him all over the political spectrum, but because he gets algorithmically boosted for engagement, he keeps popping up, and only the dumbest, most hostile scumbags follow him. Do I think he's dumber than Tim Pool? Yes, he's dumber than Tim Pool. Destiny is dumber than Tim Pool. I will explain how he's dumber. They're both dropouts with no education, which doesn't mean you're dumb. I know a lot of people who are autodidacts who are incredibly smart. Formal education doesn't mean you're dumb. Except there's the part called the autodidactic effort, which means he actually read books and studied, which he admitted he read his first book within the last 6 months, which is insane. I read my first book when I was 5, okay? Or 4. That's crazy, okay? Jesus Christ. Anyway, what makes him dumber than Tim Pool is Tim Pool could actually read the room. Tim Pool could actually like see where the right wing is going and kind of like ride the wave. Whereas Destiny is so fucking... Not only is he stupid on his takes that are wrong, he also is just... He walks into empty water. He just doesn't... He doesn't even understand where things are going. He's just cartoonishly stupid. So not only is he unintelligent, he's also emotionally unintelligent. Tim Pool is more emotionally intelligent than he is. He's better able to read the room and ride the wave. Destiny's too stupid to even do that.
Why? This is anti-Semitism, and this is
anti... Things that are actually happening. This is anti-Semitism.
This is anti-Semitism. Like, how stupid or would you have to be to believe this and then report it. You have planes. Like, you waste all that money bombing all these buildings, telling people to evacuate everything first, and you fuck up so much.
They didn't do that.
They didn't do that. They bombed areas they said were safe. This is the thing about him. He just spews. This is just, honestly, you know what Destiny reminds me of? He reminds me of the young Earth creationists. They just spew so much bullshit and they act confidently, and only dumb people fall for it. Literally.
The places they told them to evacuate to. The point of the evacuation is to concentrate them in an area where they're easier to kill and confine.
That's right, because they could have killed so many more people. You evacuate people from different halves of the country over and over and all this. You do all of that.
What is this? Just word salad.
Just to lure people to food.
His entire argument is, how could you say this? It doesn't sound like this could happen to me, therefore it's not happening. I mean, fucking Israeli media itself is reporting direct testimony from Israeli soldiers themselves that they are being ordered to shoot deliberately at unarmed Gazans waiting for humanitarian aid from the fake aid agency that was set up by Israel. And this guy, he's 40 years old, currently on trial for numerous sex crimes. His response to this factual information, which is that Israel set up a fake aid agency after systematically excluding all legitimate international aid agencies. True. Then, after forcing basically every Palestinian to Gaza into free, separate aid distribution points, concentrating them there if they want to...
So this is Haaretz. It's a killing field. IDF soldiers ordered to shoot deliberately at unarmed Gazans waiting for humanitarian aid. Is it anti-Semitic to say facts now?
Get food, because if they can't get that food, they will starve to death. So it's either you try to get the aid and possibly get shot, or you starve to death, so they have no real choice but to go and get the aid. These are all things that are factually happening. Everyone knows this. So the US and Israel create out of thin air an aid organization which is run by a crazy Christian evangelical guy, Johnny Moore, an evangelical Christian and former PR consultant who advised President Donald Trump during his first term, is the executive chairman of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, founded by Israel and the US, after they kicked out all legitimate international aid organizations like the World Food Program, the UNRWA, the UN in general, and they replaced all of them with this fake aid organization led by a fanatical evangelical Christian who is known for being pro-Israel, who believes that Israel must genocide all the Palestinians to bring about the end times and bring about the second coming of Christ. And Destiny is like, how could you believe that the purpose of this is to round Palestinians up, starve them, and force them into certain places that they're easier to control and kill? How could you believe this thing that's factually happening, that we have endless evidence of? Literally like hundreds of videos of this, massacres every single day. Look, I just...
The purpose of Destiny's entire content is to just, when things factually are true, just mock it to his audience until they just stop listening anytime the words are brought up. That's the point. Like, make it socially unacceptable to say the facts, and then when somebody comes forward and speaks the facts, they'll get mocked by his audience because he signaled to them to mock people for that. That's his entire strategy. He cannot argue. He cannot argue. That's why he's trying to deplatform me and Hassan, because he can't debate us. He cannot debate.
Just randomly Googled it, right? Let's check out 3 articles from the last fucking week. Israel kills 80 people in Gaza, including dozens of aid seekers. More than 400 Palestinians have died at Gaza Humanitarian Foundation sites since their operation began. You notice how this didn't happen at fucking UNRWA sites? Israel attacks kill 71 people, including aid seekers across Gaza. This is happening every single day. And this motherfucker is like, how could you possibly say that? This is anti-Semitism. How could you believe that? Are you really so dumb as to believe this thing for which there's exhaustive evidence? It doesn't sound believable to me, ergo it's not true. So
that's called the fallacy. What's incredible is that's one of the most basic logical fallacies. It's called the fallacy of incredulity. Basically, I don't believe that. That's crazy. An argument from personal incredulity, appeal to common sense, or divine fallacy. It asserts a proposition must be false because it contradicts one's personal expectations or beliefs, or is difficult to imagine. That's literally basic ass bitch Reddit level idiot. God damn, he's stupid. Holy fuck.
My argument is no. How dare you? That's anti-Semitic. Those facts are anti-Semitic. How dare you say that? You really believe these things that are factually happening based on clear evidence? Based on Israeli soldiers themselves saying that they are shooting these people at aid sites deliberately when they're waiting for humanitarian aid? Let's check out the last 30 seconds of what Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II, the resident of Florida, soon to be convicted sex criminal, has to say.
Stations and open fire in the places that are probably going to have the most amount of people reporting, recording, and observing. Like this.
Like, look at this fucking editing.
Look at this edit.
Have you seen?
Look at this fucking edit. Yo, like that is what a fucking dope.
The recordings? Are you just denying their existence? Obviously, I can't show them on YouTube. But there is literally hundreds of videos of Israeli soldiers just fucking firing into crowds of people seeking aid.
This is so stupid. What do you think you're even saying? It's so dumb.
He doesn't look at the evidence. He just says, how dare you say that? It's so dumb. Also, it's anti-Semitic.
Like, come on.
This is the right wing's master debater. This is the best the Zionists have. They paid this guy to do a propaganda tour of Israel. This is the best they have.
But why wouldn't they have just blown them all up at the beginning? No, that would be so obvious. Okay, so what's the plan instead? To set up food stations over the Gaza Strip and then tell them to come for food. And then when they come...
He's saying they wouldn't do that, so they wouldn't do it. This is the loner box strategy. I remember when the stories of Israeli snipers shooting children in the head were first coming out. Loner box said the IDF wouldn't do that. His entire argument is the IDF wouldn't do that, and then he just does like funny edits over the footage.
We're actually just gonna fucking kill him there. Like,
incredible.
It's comically.
Wow, you posted this as a highlight on your Twitter and you paid someone to edit it for you. Holy shit. This is the best the Zionists have. They're fucking fucked. They are totally fucked. Wow. Amazing. Anyway, while we're here, let's read a nice story, which according to Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II, better known as Destiny, who gets about 1,000 viewers on his Kick stream and is rapidly losing subscribers and viewers on his YouTube, and who is soon to be convicted of numerous serious sex crimes.
What's he even doing on Social Blade? Is he actually gaining subscribers? How the fuck does he... I mean, he's like flat. I guess he lost some during the sex pest shit, but then it's like kind of flat since then.
Charges. In the early hours of June 11th, before sunrise, 19-year-old Hatem Sheldon and his brother Hamza went to wait for aid trucks near the Netzarim corridor in the central Gaza Strip.
Is that true?
They hoped to return with a bag of white flour for their family of 5. Instead, Hamza returned with his little brother's body wrapped in a white burial shroud. This never happened, according to him. Israel would never do that. It's anti-Semitic to say that they would. This guy made this up. Actually, I think he killed his own brother. I think he killed his own brother in an anti-Semitic false flag attack. That's what happened, okay? The Sheldon family had lived virtually without food for nearly 2 months due to Israel's blockade, crammed into a classroom-turned-shelter in eastern Gaza City. Their home, once nearby, was destroyed completely by an Israeli airstrike in January 2024. Around 1:30 a.m., the two brothers joined dozens of starving Palestinians on Al-Rashid Street along
There are literally adults starving to death now. Like, there are images and videos of adults starving to death. Not just babies, not just children, but full-grown adults are unable to find food to get to the point where they're actually starving to death. Like, this is literally happening now.
Shore. Upon hearing that trucks carrying flour would enter the strip, 2 hours later, they heard shouts of the trucks are coming. So this is 2 young men who have been starving, who have no house. It was destroyed by Israel. They have not regularly eaten for months. They were hoping to get a single bag of white flour to feed their family on, just enough to avoid starvation for a little while. And then they waited 2 hours at the site that the fake Israeli aid organization told them to go to, alongside doubtlessly tens of thousands of others. And as soon as the trucks were supposedly arriving, Israel started shelling them. But he was so starving and so desperate to get food for his family that he said, I didn't care about the shelling. We just ran towards the truck's lights. But in the chaos of the crowd, the brothers got separated. Hamza managed to grab a 25-kilogram bag of flour.
Damn, that's a lot of flour.
When he returned to their agreed-upon meeting spot, Hatem wasn't there. I kept calling his phone over and over with no answer. My heart ached. I began seeing dead bodies being carried over to where I was. I refused to believe my brother might be among them. Hours after Hatem went missing, Hamza received a call from a friend. A photo of an unidentified body had surfaced in a local WhatsApp group taken at Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Bala, central Gaza. Hamza sent a cousin to check. Half an hour later, he called back, his voice shaking. He told me it was Hatem. So, his brother was killed in an artillery strike while they were trying to get aid. This is what the scenes look like. According to Destiny, this is all fake. Israel wouldn't do that. Why would they do that? Doesn't make any sense. That's anti-Semitic. How could you possibly believe that? How could you possibly believe this? Abu Sharia, another man, risked his life to get a single bag of flour for his extended family. When he was interviewed, he said, "No one risks their life like this unless they have no other choice. We go because we're starving. We go because there is nothing else. I know I might be one of those killed when I try to get food for my family, but I go because my family is starving." We knew
this is what, by the way, every famine in history in the modern era is like this. Famines are political. They are not a failure of the food system. They are always political. Whenever you see starvation, it is political. We have so much food in this world, not one person should go hungry. But because of the American empire, millions starve every year. This fact, the fact that it doesn't fill you with hatred for this fucking empire, I can't believe it. I'm like honestly shocked that people are not filled with rage when they hear this shit. This is fucking disgusting. The people talk about the famine in Ukraine. Yes. Do you think the West wanted to give food aid to Soviet Union? No, they were sanctioning it. They were sanctioning it. They were denying food. They refused to trade. They were doing a political isolation strategy against the Soviet Union. Like, of course. Of course. Same thing with China.
We could die, but what choice do we have? Hunger is a killer. We want the war and siege to end. We want this nightmare to be over. I came back wounded and I brought nothing home. Now my sick father has lost his only provider. This is from Mohammed al-Basyouni, who was shot in the back and survived. Shot by Israeli soldiers in the back when he was trying to get flour to feed his family, especially his sick father. His mother begged him not to go, but he insisted because they were starving. He got there, hoping to get some flour for his family, and he was shot in the back by a sniper, an Israeli sniper. Now let's rewatch the clip from the beginning in full with no interruptions and see how this, with this extra context, these facts of what Israel is doing in Gaza, let's just watch this over again, see how it holds up.
This was a CIA Mossad op, and it's a fake humanitarian
aid. Why is he making faces? It's been directly proven that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is funded by Mossad and the CIA and has American military contractors. Why is he making faces?
Agency, and what they do is they lure Palestinians from all over Gaza to come to a specific area in Gaza and say, hey, we're promising you food, we're promising you medicine. Then they show up, and in many instances, the IDF opens fire and murders them.
Why? This is anti-Semitism.
They wouldn't do that. This is anti-Semitism.
And this is
I'm sorry, I can't not
anti-Semitism. Like, how stupid or would you have to be to believe this and then report it? You have planes. Like, you waste all that money bombing all these buildings, telling people to evacuate everything first, and you fuck up so much, right? Because they could have killed so many more people. You evacuate people from different halves of the country over and over and all this. You do all of that just to lure people to food stations and open fire in the places that are probably gonna have the most amount of people reporting, recording, and observing. Like, this is so stupid. What do you think you're even saying? It's so dumb. Like, come on. Why wouldn't they have just blown them all up at the beginning? No, that would be so obvious. Okay, so what's the plan instead? To set up food stations over the Gaza Strip and then tell them to come for food. And then when they come, we're actually just gonna kill them there. Like, it's comically.
Israel wouldn't do that. The facts say they do that, but I'm going to ignore them. I'm just going to call you anti-Semitic for citing the facts that clearly show that they do. How could you possibly believe that? It's so stupid. Zero analysis of the facts, zero analysis of the evidence, nothing but convicted, soon to be convicted rather, sex criminal, Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II. Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II, of course, who is well known for receiving nude photos from underage girls. He is the best that Israel has at this point. And the best that Israel has is a guy who is sexually attracted to underage girls who is currently on trial for serious sex crimes.
I don't know if he openly admitted to getting nude photos from underage girls, but I know he did admit to being attracted to underage girls. And he is on trial, or he is in the legal process for sex crimes. So that's true. I don't know if he got, maybe there's something that happened that I didn't know about. I just want to make sure that we're we stick close to the facts.
And he is just saying, in the face of the overwhelming evidence, the best that he's got is no. No, Israel wouldn't do that. No, how could you say that? No.
Well, actually, the thing about Destiny's thing is, he said, if they did it, there's be lots of reporting. And then the reporters report on it, and he doesn't cover the reporting. His argument is, if Destiny did the crime you're accusing them of, there would be lots of reports of it. And then he got bikini photos of a 15-year-old, not nudes. Oh, he shared photos that were bikini photos of underage girls, not nude photos. Okay, well, that's still pedophilic as fuck. Anyway, there would be reporting. There is reporting. He doesn't cover it. How does anyone like this guy? Legitimately, how does anybody like this guy? It's unbelievable. It's actually shocking. He is a fucking 36-year-old man. What the fuck is wrong with him?
The Zionist argumentation style par excellence. What is Zionist argumentation? If not, just the guy saying, how dare you, over and over, when they don't know how to refute what you're saying. It really is that simple. Why would the Nazis ship all of the Jews to concentration camps to kill them discreetly and tell the Jews that they're actually just like, you know, going to like a normal prison or something, or who knows where, you know, because they didn't actually know that they were going to be killed, a lot of them. They weren't told anything about that. Why would they do that instead of just shooting them on the spot? It doesn't make any sense. You're fucking insane for believing that. It's the exact same argument. The dumbest people alive are now Israel's top guys. This is the best they got. What else is there to say? He sounds like a Holocaust denier because he's taking all of his cues from Holocaust deniers. It really is that simple.
My God, dude. The reason why it's necessary to speak out against this fucking loser is he's constantly trying to ingratiate himself with Democratic Party shill TikTok creators. He's constantly trying to appeal to the Democratic Party establishment as a defender of Israel. So it's necessary to cover and debunk this scumbag because he's trying to ingratiate himself with the most evil people in our country, including Nazis and Trump, in order to target the left. He is an enemy. And I mean that in the full force of the word enemy, not metaphorically. No, he is an enemy to humanity. He is a criminal. He's a encourager of genocide. He is a sex criminal. He is a fucking evil person. Like, legitimately evil. And now his own poor underage son is publicly exposing, like, proclaiming himself to be a Holocaust-denying Nazi. And he is a neglectful father that will not take the internet away from him. He is an evil piece of shit doing legitimate harm to everyone he meets, including his own son. It's fucking disgusting. And I'm not afraid to say it. If you have a son or a daughter or a child and they are in dangerous, unsafe communities online, you should be intervening and removing them from the internet and giving them mental health treatment, not exposing them to be exploited, you fucking scumbag. Jesus Christ. What a fucking deadbeat. All right. The UN High Commissioner on Human Rights just did an interview with Democracy Now! I don't want to let some of these other stories take the place of what's happening in Gaza. I want to keep covering it until we stop the war, until we stop the genocide.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. I was in Geneva, Switzerland yesterday, on Monday, at the headquarters of the United Nations Human Rights Council. I had the chance to sit down and speak with the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, about a number of issues. In today's segment, we're going to look at Israel's attack on Gaza. We spoke soon after Israel issued new forced evacuation orders for Palestinians in areas of northern Gaza. In a statement last month, Volker Turk characterized Israel's actions in Gaza as ethnic cleansing, saying, quote, "This latest barrage of bombs forcing people to move amid the threat of intensified attacks, the methodical destruction of entire neighborhoods, and the denial of humanitarian assistance underline that there appears to be a push for a permanent demographic shift in Gaza that's in defiance of international law and is tantamount to ethnic cleansing," unquote. I asked Volker Turk about his comments.
You must imagine over 20 months or so that the population inside Gaza has been displaced multiple times. I've heard it directly from some of our staff who told me that they had to move from the north to the south, back to the north and back to the south, and within these areas again and again. So it shows a group of people multiply displaced, and with the latest orders, they are essentially now confined to 1/5 of the territory. So you basically ask people to go again to 1/5 of the territory and empty up the land. That's what prompted me to call it ethnic displacement and ethnic cleansing.
And just this past weekend, officials in Gaza say at least 81 Palestinians were killed, 400 injured, just over a day period. You have accused Israel of inflicting horrifying, unconscionable suffering on Palestinians. What is your response to the latest developments?
Well, you have seen that they established the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is essentially a militarized form of providing humanitarian assistance. We have seen at least over 600 people killed when they tried to go to these distribution points. We used to have, when the UN was still able to work a little bit more, we were having about 400 distribution points. Now it's limited to 4 or 5, and it's heavily militarized. And as a result, you see people being killed, you see chaos, because the fundamental principles of humanitarian action are not respected. So
oh, this just isn't happening. This just isn't happening. I can't believe Israel would do that. No, I mean, this is the High Commissioner for Human Rights. You think he's just lying?
So yes, humanitarian action is extremely important in these circumstances.
Mike from
and it's just
PA
not
to me
happening
is
at the scale and speed that is required in order to save people's lives.
Can you talk about Israel's attack on UNRWA itself, on the UN agency?
So the fact that UNRWA was vilified in the way that it was actually shows that there is a total misunderstanding of the role of the United Nations. We are here to provide relief. We are here to help people in need. We are here also in humanitarian action to do this type of work. Unfortunately, we were not allowed to do it, and UNRWA was the prime target in all of this, which is very, very unfortunate and has really real-life consequences.
Is it a war crime?
I mean, the UNRWA, there are many things that happen in this war that are clearly war crimes. You know, collective punishment, issues of denying of humanitarian assistance. It's a very complex legal issue how to deal with UNRWA, and in fact, it's currently before the International Court of Justice.
I mean, the number of healthcare workers that have been killed, the hundreds of journalists who have been killed, those that are there to provide humanitarian aid. I just have to ask, the United Nations some 80 years ago was founded to end war, promote fundamental human rights, reaffirm international law. When you watch what is unfolding in Gaza, you might think the UN is totally useless.
Well, the principles are there, and the principles need to be respected. That's what, let's not forget. Why was the United Nations created? The United Nations were created after 2 world wars, with horrific suffering, 60 million people in Europe alone displaced as refugees, the Holocaust, atrocity crimes, massive violations of human rights. There was a sentiment, never again. We are going to establish a world order that respects territorial integrity, independence, that respects human rights and international humanitarian law. And yes, 80 years later, I'm indeed shocked at what I see around the world, because we have the highest number of conflicts and utter disrespect.
Do I think there will be a military intervention? No. The problem that we have is that they attempted to have democracy in Egypt after the Arab Spring, and the U.S. helped orchestrate a military coup to put back the dictatorship, because if there was a democracy in Egypt, they probably would have attacked Israel already. I want you to understand that if Egypt was free, they probably would have already invaded. There would be a war between Egypt and Israel already. Okay? If there was a democracy in Saudi Arabia would have attacked Israel already. So like, or I should say intervened in the genocide, not attacked. They would have retaliated to the genocide. They would have done a humanitarian. So like, they can't do it. All right? Like, these countries have to be dictatorships so that they don't intervene. And that's what Israel demands. And that's what the United States demands. There's a reason why there's these monarchies and these dictatorships all throughout the Middle East, is because they're suppressing Arab identity. They're suppressing nationalist and democratic principles. They have to do this to support the crimes that are happening in Israel. And the United States is the one holding the boot to the neck of the Arab people all throughout the world. That's reality. That's me being honest.
Respect for international law. And that is worrying and should wake us all up, because we don't need a world where anarchy reigns and chaos.
How do you see a ceasefire taking place after Israel and U.S. bombing Iran? That happened quite quickly, but not in Gaza. The violence is only intensifying.
No, I really hope, my most fervent hope is that there is a permanent ceasefire, that all the remaining hostages are released unconditionally, that indeed humanitarian aid is finally coming in at a scale and a magnitude.
You can't call Destiny. So he's not smart on economics. He's fucking brain dead. He's brain dead on economics. He knows nothing about economics. He's uneducated in economics. He doesn't know anything. What the fuck are you talking about? He's literally stupid. I fucking humiliated him on that exact issue. Like, what are you even talking about, man? We had debate. Why do you think he stopped debating me? He stopped debating me because he was getting fucking owned. And he had to have some, he kept like coping with this guy named Rage Pope. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the fuck, are you delusional? It's me thinking he has a solid understanding of micro and macro. No, he doesn't. He has a internet Googled right-wing talking point understanding of micro and macro. He doesn't understand anything. He's vapid. Are you stupid? He used to say the $15 minimum wage was economically illiterate. I argued it with him, and then the study that I cited in our debate later won the Nobel Prize in economics. He's stupid. I debated him in 2019 and 2020 about minimum wage, and I cited the Card studies, and then Andrew Card won the Nobel Prize the next year. That's why he doesn't debate me. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? David Card. Sorry, I said Andrew Card. David Card. Thank you, chatter, for correcting me. What the fuck do you mean? I debated All Relevant on this issue as well. It was my first ever stream. All Relevant said that the $15 minimum wage was economically illiterate and unpopular politically. And then I demonstrated definitively those arguments. I don't know if that debate exists anywhere. I'm sure I wish it did, because it would be really funny to listen to, because the Destiny Orbiters are brain dead too. And these fucking cuck bitches, they monitor me for 24/7. So I know you're listening to this, and you're such little cucks. You can't even come up with one time he looked smart in our debates. Not one time. God damn, that's embarrassing.
That is required. And that there will be a political solution, which means a two-state solution. There's no way around that. And yeah, I mean, and we can never give up on any of this, even when at the moment it looks very unrealistic, but one should never ever cast this aside. That's the only solution for both Israelis and Palestinians to live side by side in peace.
That's Volker Turk, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. We were speaking at the Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland yesterday, where he had just given an address about climate change. He says men have stopped wearing ties.
Did I shill already, or today I miss? Oh, God damn it. I forgot to shill. I only have 11,000 subs and 748 today. God damn it. I need more.
Europe, with the heat dome so intense right now. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe.
All right, chat. Unfortunately, I got some guests coming in, so I'm going to call it just a little bit early today. Thank you so much for all the support, all the fun. The vibes have shifted. I'm sending you to the mothership. I also want to encourage you to please visit my and watch my newest YouTube video. If you want more Mike from PA content, here's my newest YouTube video, so go check that out. And here is my most recent TikTok video. Go check that out. We're blowing up on TikTok. We got to get that same energy on YouTube. I'm going to be posting TikToks at least 4 or 5 times a week. And it's going to be TikTok content. Same thing with YouTube. They're going to be shorts that are exclusive to those platforms. So you're going to get content that you don't see anywhere else on those platforms. Thank you so much for all the support. Stay safe out there. Solidarity forever. And Joe Hassan that I called it again. Joe Hassan that I called the final Zohran victory. We need more Mike was right. Chat, Mike was right clips. All right, everybody, stay safe out there. Solidarity forever. And that's how socialism wins. Here's all my links. Make sure you're following. Thank you for all the support. And opening presents, you are the king. I'll see you tomorrow.
Because these rural hospitals where Trump supporters live, in the areas that Trump supporters live, rely heavily on Medicaid. That is the only way that people can pay for it. Okay? Medicaid is the only way that people can pay for health care, because these are places that are impoverished. Okay? Very poor people live in these places. So when there's no funding vehicle for these hospitals, they will no longer be, they won't be